So I've it's been a very interesting journey since I started like podcasting again. I've been having so much fun with it. I've been getting very inspirational as time progresses. I've had different friends on already. I've had stuff with my wife done already, which I can't wait to do more with these people. And this episode is one of those other ones where we're gonna talk BS and just have a good time conversation. This will be the first of many episodes we'll do together. So allow me to introduce you one of my good friends, Mr. Eddie Brophy, the creator of the Accentual Mix on Mixcloud. Brother, what's up? How you doing? What do you want to talk
What's
about,
going on,
man?
man? Oh man, well, I'm guessing did you catch Saturday Night Main Event last night, or
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, dude. Like, cause so I watch a lot of like podcasting too, like wrestling podcasts, and like the main complaint, and I definitely agree, was there was too much freaking commercials.
well, I mean, again, because of the TKO merger there, I was saying that to my buddy Jason. I'm like, I aesthetically, the show has never looked like sleeker, but there's something like, and it's so silly to like, this is like an IWC complaint a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's so commercialized now. It look there's too much UFC in it, if that makes any sense. Like I kind of hate because I hated it in WCW. I hate the fact that the apron and the ring itself is just covered in advertisements.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I'm like whatever, but I do feel like that UFC sense vibe. I do feel that, and look, it takes away from what I'm trying to watch in the ring.
Well, WWE's always had kind of a stiff kind of wrestling style versus like New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the part of it that kind of like stifles it for me is like WWE was already kind of a little more mainstream in terms of like how they let their guys. Because if you remember when Randy Orton came in many like decades ago, he had more of a high flying style, and it was Pat Patterson that told him to tone it down. That's why Randy's got more of that stiff brawler type style now.
Yeah,
And
you're right.
there's like a noticeable shift from like the Randy Orton that was like the youngest world heavyweight champion to now. And I remember like as soon as his moveset changed, as soon as like his whole character changed, it was just for me. I'm like, now he's a WWE guy. I don't like it.
Yeah, yeah. Cause I remember he used to do, was it the overdrive was his finishing move, and then
Yeah.
like, I mean, yeah, no, 100%. It's the same thing with There was other wrestlers like that too. Cause remember when Big Show first came to WWE, he was doing these high flying drop kick and what you call it? He was doing elbow drops, and they told him like, "Yo, you're a giant. You shouldn't be wrestling like a cruiserweight. Let the cruiserweights do that."
The thing with Big Show that I couldn't stand after a while was the imploding ring gimmick. Was
Mm,
when they'd have him or they'd have another guy suplex. Like Lesnar was the first to do it to him, where he'd suplex him on SmackDown, the ring just exploded on them.
right.
And then you had him and Mark Henry do it, which the only thing that was kind of cool about that, I think it was TLC, where he suplexed Mark Henry, suplexed her, he suplexed Mark Henry. And then there was still the John Cena main event, and they still had to wrestle even though the ring was exploded,
Oh
which I thought
man,
that was kind of cool, but they did it so many goddamn times
that's a Vince
that
McMahon
it just,
issue. Yeah.
oh, that was a major Vince McMahon. It's funny because my kids, the two big things my kids are into now is wrestling and Michael Jackson. It's a
Wow.
slippery slope with both of those because like I've put on like my son Ryder, for example, the first match, because to them wrestling was just like dull as watching paint dry. They had zero, like negative zero interest in it. It was the Hell in a Cell match with McIntyre and Punk. And
Right.
it came on, and I went to go lay with my kids. And I'm like, guys, I'm going to tell you, man, we're not watching The Simpsons tonight. Daddy wants to watch wrestling. As soon as Punk came out with the toolbox and they were both bleeding, Ryder just looked at me. He's like, they can actually bleed in wrestling? I'm like, oh, God. Oh, what
Oh
have I done?
God, yo, them. Oh my God, I gotta hear the rest
And
of
then
this.
my youngest has always been a Cena guy, and one day he was just like, "Daddy, can you show me one of Cena's bloodiest matches?" I'm like, against my better judgment, I put on the Judgment Day match between him and JBL.
Okay.
Oh my, you would like it's they know how to gig, so they understand like because the thing with my kids is like again most people are probably hearing this and like, dude, what the hell, Eddie? I like to explain if they have questions. I like to explain it for them. So like I was explaining, so he's like, "Oh, is that fake blood?" I'm like, "No, dude. He actually uses a little. They cut up a little razor blade and they tape it under their wrist tape. They slide it out and they put a little nick in their head. And I didn't show him the Eddie Guerrero one, the Eddie Guerrero botch, but I did
Okay.
explain to him like it's like, dude, that to this, I'm like, I can't even watch that comfortably. I can't even watch that one comfortably
That
because
was
that was
bad. Even what about Mr. Kennedy? That was bad too. With I think it was
there
with
was some
Eddie.
particularly bad ones.
Yeah, cause
I'm actually shocked to see the blood actually or the color coming back into wrestling now.
yeah. Cause I was just thinking about because you talking about the Eddie Guerrero. That was a really bad one. But I remember the Mr. Kennedy one versus the Undertaker. Smacked the hell out of him with that chair. And was it with Kennedy or I mean no was it with Undertaker or was it with Batista? I think it was
I think it was Undertaker. I think it was Armageddon, if I'm
right.
not mistaken, because they did have that what was it, the Hearst match back in Armageddon. I think it was like 2006, 2007.
But the bleeding part though, was that with him or was that with Batista? Right? Because didn't Batista like ram him into the post and by accident he cut him or something?
It is a good likelihood. My memory's going back to like WWE around that time because I have no problem admitting to people I've always been kind of like I don't want to say a fair weather fan, but like the ebbs and flows of like when you're really into it and then when you kind of like you fall out of it, you still pay attention. Like you go on like the dirt sheet websites and you kind
Yeah.
of figure out like you keep up with like what was on the card, who won the match, what were the high spots and stuff like that. But during that time, because again, that was there reached a point for me, and I remember I was telling somebody this. I'm like, I think it was the six pack Hell in a Cell match. For whatever reason, as a kid, I'm just like, I think I'm out. I think I'm just done. Like I wasn't I didn't really care for most of the storylines. I hated the fact that like Rikishi was in the main event scene. I didn't like it. I didn't buy him as a bad guy. I called Triple H fatigue. I got wicked Triple H fatigue in the early
Oh
2000s.
my god, I remember that. Yeah, I remember when Triple H was not so ripped.
Well, it's funny because I look back on it now and I go, I got to give the guy credit because when a single performer is responsible for taking you out of something you love because he's that good of a bad guy on television,
Right.
he's clearly doing his, and he was always a great in-ring performer. It just like Cena and like I was even starting to feel with Cody too. I was actually grateful that Cody dropped the strap to Cena because I was even kind of going through a little bit of Cody fatigue. I was just, he's a great performer. I
Yeah.
was so thrilled for him to win at Mania, but not that I love hot potato with title belts, but I also, after the Roman Reigns, what was it, 2, 3 years he held the title, I was just like, enough, enough. It's one of those things where like you can't really sit down and watch a match when like the SmackDown match where Brock Lesnar beat Kofi Kingston in like literally seconds to take
Oh
the
my
title off
god.
him.
Though that's the thing we're not supposed to talk about supposedly. It never happened supposedly.
That was like Jericho beating Triple H. It was stricken from the record books in 2000 when he had the match and Earl Hebner got involved and fast counted
I
Triple H.
remember that. Yeah, that's wrestling's a very interesting. I don't want to say it's a sport, but yeah, whatever, sure. Just for the sake of this conversation, sure, sport, whatever. It's a very interesting sport because like there's so many things that can go right and so many things that can go so wrong in professional wrestling, and it's just one of those things like I don't know, man. Because I know with me when because I remember I saw the whole invasion angle. I saw all that, right?
Right.
Which was horrible, but whatever. I didn't know who to go for. I don't know if I like DDP or Chris Canyon because Chris Canyon was my dude. And don't laugh, but I was also a Sean Stasiak fan, even though he didn't really go. No.
No, no, I'm gonna stop you right fucking there. I don't give a flying fuck what people say at all. I will die on this hill. The Survivor Series 99 debut match between Sean Stasiak and Kurt Angle was a clinic. That was a solid
It
fucking
was.
match, bell to bell. I do not give a fuck what people try to tell me. Sean Stasiak held his own in that
Yeah.
match. And I will give a lot of the credit to Kurt Angle, given the fact that it was a very wrestling heavy match.
Right.
It wasn't like a gimmicky match. The fact that the ref had said to Kurt Angle, Vince is in my ear and he's telling me you have to get this crowd back, Kurt. And Kurt was sweating it because that was his debut match. And the crowd was like booing and they were not into it. They were bored out of their minds. I became a Kurt Angle fan the second he rolled out of the ring, grabbed the microphone and says, you do not boo an Olympic gold medalist. You do not boo an Olympic gold medalist. I was sold on Angle because that was like off the fly, that was the most brilliant piece of heel work I'd ever seen in my
Yeah.
life. I just knew after that, I'm like, dude, I'm a Kurt Angle guy. He's so
Yeah, and look
solid.
how he elevated himself, right? Because he's done so much funny things. I remember I read, I don't know what documentary this was, but I remember like watching this video about, when Kurt Angle first came to WWE. Like, I remember Vince was telling him, hey, I hope you understand, it's not gonna be just wrestling. Like, you might have to entertain people. You're gonna have to do like silly stuff, and he was okay with that. And it's so interesting, right? Because I feel like he's passed on that knowledge on now to freaking Chad Cable with that whole Americano guy.
Oh my God. See,
Yeah.
I will say I was on board for it until the Gulf of America thing. And then because of the proximity between the McMahons and the current administration, it was like, all right, at what point are we crossing the line between parody and like, yeah, but you guys are kind of into this. Like it gets, I won't lie, it kind of takes you out too when you're seeing like the red hats in the crowd and you're like, all right, I get it. They like this stuff too. But like, it does, considering that, Vince's ex is, I probably shouldn't even touch that one with a 10-foot pole, but where she's at in terms of the Department of Education and all that, and it's just like it's a bad look. But no, I mean I completely agree with you because Angle was supposed to be an ECW, and what squashed
Oh
his ECW
yeah,
run
the
was when Raven got crucified.
yeah, he actually crucified the Sandman. That was what that was. Yeah,
Oh, the same, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and because that went against all of Kurt's religious beliefs, and
yeah.
Kurt immediately after he saw the Angle, he's like, "I'm done. I'm out. I'm not doing this."
Yeah. Oh man. Yo, wrestling was so different because I feel like GCW now is like what ECW was, but just more rowdier, I guess, to a point because like they GCW just does a lot of stupid stuff. That's really what it comes down to.
I'll argue that I feel the same way about AEW. The stuff that Moxley is doing in
Oh
AEW
Lord.
doesn't feel like wrestling to me. Like taking the nail bat to the back.
Ooh, that was
I was
bad.
like,
That was bad.
I even at its most controversial, ECW was still very much rooted in like traditional wrestling. Whereas when you get the fluorescent lights out, I don't know if you ever saw that David Arquette documentary where he took the fluorescent light to the neck and he damn near almost
Oh,
died.
Dark Side of the Ring. Yeah, yeah. I've seen most of it. Yeah, but I've seen that one with him and Nick Gage. Yeah, this is. Oh my God. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
bad.
but he actually had a legitimate. He filmed it himself. He did a documentary about him trying to get back into wrestling, and the whole bane of his existence being that whole WCW run basically haunted him because nobody took him seriously as a performer.
Yeah, I mean, but then again, but look
So
what happened though. Like he was the WCW champ. I'm sorry, I always laugh every time I.
mistakes were made. Mistakes were made. Mistake. Well, there was a Reddit thread recently where people were like, "Now I don't understand why is it when Vince won the title in '99." There wasn't this big uproar, but in 2000, when Vince Russo won the WCW title, everybody crapped on it. It was
Oh,
like
because
because
they. Okay, no, okay, no. Finish what you're gonna say, but I can actually explain that.
because with Vince, it was storyline, whereas with Vince Russo, it was just ego. He just wanted to put the WCW title on himself.
Okay, never mind. You already explained that. And then the whole David Arquette was, as far as David Arquette was, it was just because they wanted press. That's really all it was. They were in USA Today for like how long? What, one day? And then everybody forgot about it. And all this was because of that movie,
Well, because
Royal
they were
Rumble.
also trying to promote that movie that he
Yeah.
did, Ready to Rumble, and that's how they came up with the three-tiered cage match. Which, on paper, I guess you could say, and I can't cramp on one match and then praise another. The idea of the three-tier in WCW was really cool to me, but I'll be the first person to crap on the Kettle from Hell match at Unforgiven in
Oh
'99.
my God. Is that the one with Big Bossman and Al Snow?
It was with the traditional, it was the blue steel cage and then the Hell in a Cell on top of it, and you had to climb out of the blue cage and somehow like tear your way through the roof of the Hell in a Cell and then escape through the Hell in a Cell while there were dogs pissing all over the mats outside the apron.
God, are you kidding? Bro, if you really think about it, that's the original version of the Punjabi prison match. If you really want to be technical, like the way it's.
And again, on paper, that match. Well, I have a funny anecdote about this. So years ago, I used to do a wrestling podcast with my buddy Jason. He's the gentleman I work with at the TV station. It was called Marks on Commentary. We initially started filming it at one of the TV stations he was at prior. So it was like a YouTube thing. And then it turned into a podcast. Well, we were doing like a live thing one night and we were just talking about matches. And somebody brought up, one of our friends brought up the Punjabi prison match. And a younger listener who actually lived in that country had said during the time where Undertaker and Great Khali were having that match, like they shut everything down. That's how real wrestling was over there. Like they legitimately thought, like he was like, we didn't go to school after that. It was like a
What?
legitimate like. It was like holy shit, like and like we were kind of like, is this guy ribbing us? And he's like, no, like legit in my culture, we took that so seriously. Like shit just shut down. And to this day, I'm like, that is the wildest thing on the
That
planet.
is kind of
But
wild.
it's no different. But it's no different if you go back and watch Wrestling with Shadows, the Bret Hart documentary.
Right.
When he'd go over to different countries, they treated him like he was a god.
Yeah.
Because in other countries, they treat. I mean, particularly in Japan, the audience doesn't say boo when there's a
Oh
match
yeah,
going on. Because
right. There's a level of respect for the performers while they're performing. Yeah, I've seen that. If you like back in the day, like the original like New Japan days, like everything was all
mm-hmm.
quiet, and when they did a crazy move, it was like that. Yeah, you look up that like the
Yeah.
Vader match with what's it, Stan Hansen? Is that the one that
Oh my
he? Is that the
god.
one where like his eye came off?
His eyeball. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
When his eyeball, like, yeah.
But if you watch that
Oh
match, it
god.
was like, oh, but it didn't get all crazy or rowdy. It was just like, oh snap! But they still clapped, like they were still clapping and shit like that. Like, oh my god, because they've never seen something like that before. Nowadays, it's so different. I blame AEW for that.
I also think too that like I look back at like Big Van Vader or just Vader when he got to WWF, like the difference in style, the difference in performance, the difference in attitude, the difference in the audience too. Vader very well should have been, and I know there's the whole thing where Shawn Michaels put the kibosh on. He's like, no, I'm not dropping to Vader. Where it's like Vader was the champ in WCW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. What the hell happened? His WWF run was so bad.
Yeah, like what's the
Like
Shawn
it was
Michaels?
so abysmal.
Yeah, like once like he finished that thing with Shawn Michaels, all of a sudden it was like okay, then he started what he wrestled Kane, he wrestled, and then everything he just kind of disappeared after that.
Well, there was allegedly Vader was not big on laundering his wrestling gear, so I guess that was like the number one complaint Michaels went to Vince with. It was like he stinks. I can't do it. And then there was a spot in the SummerSlam match where Vader was supposed to move, and Michaels was going to drop the elbow, and Vader was going to roll all the way, and Michaels was going to eat the canvas. And he realized that Vader's not moving, so he literally like his 2 feet landed just like an inch right by Vader's skull,
Right.
and he just leaned in and started screaming at Vader, "You were supposed to move!" And it was just like, oh shit, like
That's crazy.
I I get into the nerdier stuff with wrestling. Like the backstage stuff is more into like honestly the backstage politics and like how matches are like set up and stuff. That's almost infinitely more interesting to me than the actual
Yeah, no,
television
I'm the
or the
same
actual
way. No,
matches.
I'm actually the same way because I've always been interested in like Paul Heyman when he was running ECW. I always wondered like where did he come up with the Raven character? I know it was based on Nirvana and like pretty much he wanted wrestling's version of Nirvana to happen and stuff like that. But like as far as the Raven character itself, like the dressing part, we know where he got that from. But as far as the mindset, right? Because Scott Levy was a very intelligent dude. For him to pull
He's
that off,
actually he's part of Mensa. Did you know he's actually part of Mensa? Like it's not just that he's intelligent, he has a genius IQ.
I didn't
Which
know
when I
that.
found that out, I was like, oh shit. Oh yeah, he's a member of Mensa. Which is so wild because we could talk about wrestling, which is probably gonna bore the crap out of your listeners, or I don't know, but like when we talk about wrestling, like a lot of people don't know, like there's a lot of really like prior to Kane losing his mind and becoming like an alt right wing nut job, Kane was an English teacher. Kane, everybody said he was one of the smartest
Oh,
guys in the backstage area.
was it Glenn Jacobs?
Glenn Jacobs, yeah. Before he got, everybody says when he got into politics, I think it was Paige recently said that like she loved him, but she's like, as soon as he got into politics, he lost his damn mind.
Yeah, politics is a very interesting thing, which is why I don't really care too much about it personally. Like I know there's things I should know about, but I'm just more like, listen, man, like it is what it is. I'ma just keep living my life and that's it. I understand there might be a possible war going on, but my whole thing is listen, man. I don't binge watch the news. Like my wife would watch certain things. She said, "Hey, babe, just so you know this is going on." Okay, great, and then just move on my day. And people get on me because I have such a laid back attitude about a lot of things, and it's just like there's just some things to me. I'm sorry, it's not that damn serious. Like that's just what the reality is, and there are people who don't like me because of that. But I'm sorry, that's the way I'm built. Like it's not on purpose, it's just what it is. Because some things
I
it
mean,
is what it is.
I get it. Like I see both sides of it because for the job that I have, I deal directly with the local municipalities and stuff. I deal with like the select board, so like all like the stuff that goes down in the town I live in, and it really is. It's really depressing, particularly me because I wouldn't necessarily. I would say if I was like lower class, like disenfranchised, lower middle class growing up, we weren't like absolutely destitute, but we were pretty damn close. So like for me, it was like a lot of this stuff didn't really apply to me because I just kind of looked at it like, well, I'm basically dirt poor guy. So like, does my vote even count? Does like my opinion even matter? Because I mean,
It's facts.
I remember, well, because I remember a bully once telling me, Eddie, you might as well be not white. I go, why? He goes, in this country, there's two things that this country hates. It's colored people and poor people. So you might as well not even be white.
Oh shit.
And that really like that was like that profoundly affected me for the rest of my life because it was like, damn, dude, like to a certain degree, it's very true. Like I've always said, and I got to do this thing for work tomorrow for Memorial Day, and my kids can come with me and they can help me film it. But it's one of those things where like I probably shouldn't say anything, but like I always it's a heavy heart to want to support it and be there and be around these people because I'd say you're like top three, top four people this country doesn't give a shit. I'd say veterans are right up there.
Oh yeah, like if you go to New York, there's a lot of veterans that still don't have jobs to this very day. Like I know this one dude, his name was Ralph. I don't know if he's still alive or not, but I remember he would have like random stuff like comic books or baseball cards, and he would explain, "Hey, this is my military ID. This is just proof that when I went to Vietnam, such and and he was like, I did serve my country. I just need something so I can get a hot meal. Like anyone want to buy something and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people like that. Like people think just because you're in the military, oh, you're gonna get a lot of money. That's now, but realistically, back then it wasn't like that.
Well, I think a lot of it too is well, you talk about Vietnam. I mean, in that case, they were sending a lot of guys to death,
Yeah.
and a lot of those guys they did it because they were either very patriotic and they said it's my duty, I got to go do this, or I particularly even of our age group, the war in Afghanistan. There's a lot of people that joined the military because it was like it's either this or jail or it's this or it's death. Like
Right.
so, a lot of people are thinking if I can enlist and I can get out there, I can see active combat, I can not only serve my country, but I can secure a better life for myself when I come home. And for a lot of guys coming back, it was just they, particularly in Vietnam, because I remember my grandfather did a couple tours in Vietnam, and like they were coming home, they were getting spit on and called baby killers. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, we didn't even ask to go out there. We got drafted to go out
Yeah. Thank
there,
God it's
and
not
you're
like that
treating us like
anymore. Oh my God.
that. And that was the thing. Like as soon as you mentioned Vietnam vet, I always had like an affinity or like a love in my heart for Vietnam vets because I'd always see those guys. Because when I was a little kid, the guys that would sit outside like your friendlies or your liquor stores, whatever, and they'd be selling the poppies, the little red flowers. It was always the World War II vets.
Yeah.
And then, of course, obviously, many of those died out. So then it turned into the Vietnam vets. And I used to come out, back in my 20s, I come out of the liquor store, I'd see a guy. And they were so funny because they were just happy to chat anybody up. They were just happy to just bust balls and just, I'd always throw the guy like a 5 or a 10 or whatever. He's like, oh, do you want a few more? I'm like, no, I just want the one.
Yeah.
I said one more guy came out and immediately I dropped my 5 in. He's like, oh, thank you so much. And he noticed my Nightmare on Elm Street hoodie. He's like, Nightmare on Elm Street, that's a moldy oldie. And it was just like immediately like, I just want to talk to this guy. And
Right. And
we would
why are
just sit.
we weird for that? Why are we weird for that? If I want to talk to people, just to talk to people, why is that bad? Why is that weird?
I, it's so funny because as a millennial, one of the funniest things to me is that we have all this access to each other. We have so much access to everybody. And yet nobody wants to pick up the phone anymore. Like I literally have like only 2 people I talk to on the phone anymore. Nobody else wants to talk on the phone. And it's like all the communication is done through text or instant message or whatever, which whatever, that's fine. But like, I feel like we're one of the first generations that are just like, I don't want to interface with people anymore. And it's like, I don't know if that was just something that was inevitable or if that's kind of the byproduct of politics or the class divide, I have no idea. But it does. It bums me out. 'Cause I'm like, we were at the genesis of the internet boom of like LiveJournal, MySpace, like social media and having so much access to each other. But I also feel like maybe we just got too much access.
It's interesting. Yeah, no, no, I definitely agree with you with the whole people not want to talk to each other anymore. And it's so interesting because I remember a time, especially back in high school, like I couldn't wait to get home because my boy was gonna call me. We are going to talk about wrestling, and my dad was like, "Oh no, they have them call you, not us call them, because when they call you, we don't pay for the call, they do." And I would explain to him, it's 65 cents per call, not per minute. But he swore to God it was per minute. I said, no, it's per call, Dad. I guarantee you, bro. And he just insisted
So
in arguing with me. But
So we essentially had the same father because I could not. So I never asked for a cell phone, never wanted. It was basically the equivalent of like a shock collar when I was 13. My dad got me a cell phone because him and my mom wanted to know where I was. All right, cool. But then you had other friends that were getting cell phones and they wanted to call each other. My dad was like, you can use it to make calls, but not until after 7 p.m. because then we don't have to
oh
pay for
my
it.
God, yes, the free nights and weekends. Holy
Free nights and
crap.
weekends.
Oh, bro, you just brought it back for me, bro. I remember I had this thing called Page Plus, and I said, okay, 7 o'clock. So just to be exact, I said, yo, call me at 7:15. Just to be exact, that's how bad my OCD was.
Dude, so my friend Allison of 31 years, I've known this woman. We've been best friends since 1994. She joked after I got my first tattoo a couple months ago. She goes, "The next one we got to get 10 and 7." Like 10 and 7. She goes, "Remember when we were kids? So back in the day, her and I would call each other faithfully at 10 a.m. on the dot every morning.
Mm,
Because 10 a.m., that was the only acceptable time to call a friend in the morning. So we would sit, and back in the day where you had the TV guide channel or
the
whatever it was,
TV.
but the scrolling to tell you what was on TV, it'd have the clock
Oh
on it.
shit.
And you'd be watching that, just it'd be like 9:59, like, all right, in like less than 20 seconds, I can call Allison. But same thing, and it's so funny because I was like, is that like a free nights and weekends thing that was embedded us? Because like even now, every night she calls me or I call her faithfully every night at 7 p.m.
Wow.
And it's so funny because it's like, why is that? And now it's like, well, you go by your kids' time or your kids bathe or they in bed, like you have time to talk. But like, I swear to God, it stems from like when you were a little kid and it was like summer vacation or whatever. And you're like, all right, I want to call Allie to see if she wants to ride bikes or go hang out at GG Rock or whatever, but I can't call before 10.
Yeah.
Same thing when you were in high school. I was like, all right, I want to call Allie, but I can't call her before 7 because then dad will freak out because that's going to cost us like $1 million.
Curfew,
So we're going to
bro.
wait.
I remember, see, that's what I'm saying. I remember when kids had curfew. Like, man, I had to be home before dark. And if I can, like, let's say dark was at 8 o'clock. Any minute past 1 minute past 8, it was the end of the world with my dad. Like, see, you don't even hear stories like that anymore. You know what's so crazy? And you'll laugh at this. I know you'll appreciate this. I was on my way home from work, right? Because I do the 7 to 3 now, so I have a lot more leeway. Because I became a not a shift, so a lead concierge, whatever. And I'm on the train, ba ba da ba da, which I don't know if I think I meant I never sent it to you. I'll send it to you after we finish here. But there was this guy. He had to be like maybe mid 30s or like going into 40s, maybe, right? Because only someone like that would know about this. I'm on the train, I'm listening to music, I'm looking out the window, and I see from far. I said, wait, let me take a picture of the guy without him noticing I'm taking a picture because I'm at a far distance. I'm like, there's no way I'm seeing what I think I saw. And lo and behold, this guy was playing a Game Boy.
Oh,
I
jeez.
was like, bro, that is like top notch because I'm like, dude, the fact that you have a Game Boy on a train and not give a damn, and you just playing away like I don't know what game he was playing, but I was looking at that. I said, babe, can I take a picture? I said, yo, babe, you're not gonna believe this. This guy is playing freaking Game Boy on the light road, bro. I lost my mind,
Well,
bro. I was like, yo,
two things to add to that. The first was I didn't realize you were talking about the guy on the train, so I'm like you were looking out the window. I thought you were going to tell me you saw somebody actually using an actual payphone
no,
because I remember going. I was going to a concert with a buddy of mine, and it's in one of the more urban cities in Massachusetts, and there was a payphone near the train, and we see this woman, and she had like her. It was a stereotypical like the bag lady. She was like wearing like the sweat pants, like the baggy sweatpants and the heavy sweatshirt,
bro.
and she had the thing with like all the grocery bags. And Mac just nudges me. He goes, "That's a drug
Oh
deal." I
shit.
go, "What?" And he
Oh,
goes, "Nobody uses pay." He's like, "You see somebody at like 10 o'clock at night on a payphone, you know there's a drug
that
deal."
is a
I'm
that
like,
is a drug. That's funny because it is a drug deal. You're right, and pretend you on the phone. Oh my god, that's so funny.
But the other thing was, I used to work at a thrift store, and at this thrift store, we got the box for the Game Boy. The Game Boy wasn't in, but we got the box. And my manager or the owner of the store put it in the back because she used to sell stuff on Amazon that was more valuable, so she could pump money back into the store. And one of my coworkers was like, "What the hell does she have that Game Boy box there for?" I'm like, "Oh, she's gonna try and sell it on Amazon." For what? And they were like just flabbergasted. Like, what does she think she's gonna make on that?
You'd be surprised.
And to God, she made $200 off just the box.
Dude, you'd be surprised. People buy anything. You know what's crazy? I have a resident in my book. I do. All right. So for the if unless you're new to my podcast or whatever the case is, I'm a concierge at a residential building. So this is one guy. His name is George, and he's like in his 60s, or I think like 50s going to 60s, and this guy still collects like old stuff, right? This guy collects records. He because every time I deal with packages and stuff, so I'm like, so I'll joke around like, oh, there's another record. Like it's always like whatever. So he had got me for my wife, Cinderella, the VHS, like the original casing and everything, the white
Oh,
box,
okay, yeah,
but inside was
yeah.
coupons from 1995.
The biggest scam that was ever pulled in the '90s, among many scams that were ever pulled, the greatest scam that was ever pulled. And I just said this to my buddy Jason the other day because he's working on. He found this. You know those like those plastic station things that you'd find like the magazines in. You'd open them, you take out a free magazine.
Ah,
He
okay.
found one of those near where he lives. And he called the people up and he did it the right way. He was like, "Oh, hey, so there's a bunch of trash in this. I have an idea for my work. I want to put physical media in it and do like those take a book, leave a book type things. He wants to do that with like DVDs and videos and stuff." So he went through the proper channels and he did all that. And he got it, and that's gonna like we're gonna install that at work come summertime. But he's going through all these DVDs that were donated to us, and there was a bunch of these old Disney ones. And as I'm watching, I, like it's almost like the muscle memory kicks in, where you remember like the dial tones when you put on like a Disney VHS tape or
Yeah.
whatever. And I just looked at it with this look of indignation. He's like, "What?" I'm like, "The greatest scam that Disney ever fucking pulled was back in the day when they would put out videos, that they would release videos of like Little Mermaid, Cinderella, crap like that, and they'd always say, 'Get it now because once it's gone, it's gone.'"
Mm.
And people, and my sister was one of those people. She'd be like, "Oh my God, I have to get it for Haley because once it's gone, it's gone." And now I look at Disney Plus and I'm like,
You son of a
dude,
bitch.
that was such a Beanie Baby bullshit scam. That was such a Beanie Baby bullshit scam. Like, they fucking had every single one. Not to mention that once VHS became obsolete, funny that all the movies that they're going to disappear forever. Buy it now. Buy it in bulk. Buy as many as you can possibly get. It's like toilet paper. You got to stock up on Cinderella. Then DVDs come out and it's like, "Oh, here's the Ultra Super remastered with even more commentary of Cinderella." It's like,
God, I just want to watch
man,
the
you guys
movie.
suck.
Listen, really, I don't know. I like VHS because it was different. It was part of my childhood. But yeah, no. But when it comes to that whole get it now, yeah, I remember that. That was a lot, bro. That is a scam.
I think that's I'm gonna go on a limb here and say the greatest philosophical or existential crisis of our generation was that literally everything in our life that was explained to us as young kids, as teenagers, "Get it now, do it now, because if you don't, it's gone forever. Your life is over." And it's just like, oh my God, you hear what that guy said? If we don't do this, if I don't go to college now, if I don't buy 9 copies of Cinderella now, it's over.
God, that is so. Yeah.
Flash forward and we're all pushing 40 or we are 40, and it's like, yeah, you can like stream that for like 6.99 a month
Yeah,
on
yo,
Disney
I could
Plus, dude.
imagine if there was a time machine and we went back in time, but I don't lie. They're lying to us. They're lying to you guys. It will be streaming soon. You don't know what the word means, but just take my word for it. Don't buy all these DVDs.
No, no. Okay. The exercise in infinite patience that my kids don't have. So I'm like, "Guys, sit down. I'm gonna explain something to you." So the Minecraft movie just came on to streaming, and I got it for them. And I didn't take them to see it in the theater because one, it's like $100 to go take your kids to see a movie these days, which is bullshit. I love the experience. I love movies. My parents never took me as a kid, so as a father, my initial inclination is just, Eddie, bring them whatever they want to see, any movie they want to see, because you got robbed as a kid.
Yeah, That's
And
how I
then,
feel with my son.
then
Yeah.
you see, and then you overdraft your bank account and you're like, fuck. Um, but then I realized I'm like, Minecraft came out and they both want to see it. I'm like, dude, that shit's going to be on streaming in like 4 weeks or less.
Mm-hmm.
No shit. Last weekend I had them and it was on $26. I bought it. I didn't rent it. It was like 19.99. And that's the other bullshit. 19.99 you can rent it. 25 you own it, and you don't really own it. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll just buy it. We made our own popcorn. I made the Minecraft cookies. It was a thing. And they'd get restless and bored and like, we'll watch it later. And I got so mad that I go, sit down. And they're like, what? Like, sit down. You're getting a lesson right now. I storm into my room. I pull the copy of Starship Troopers on VHS I have. I go, you see this?
What?
So you see
Yo.
this? You see this? This movie came out in November of 97. My buddy Turk and his single mom, who didn't know any better, he called me out and goes, dude, we're going to go see Starship Troopers. Mom's going to take us. I'm like, oh, right on, dude. We're going to see fucking Starship Troopers. I'm so excited. We get to the theater. The mother has no idea. And she's talking to these two theater workers, like, they can't go in by themselves. You have to go in and watch the movie with them. And she's like, well, I don't want to see this movie. I just want them to see it. They're like, it's rated R. They can't see it. Let me recommend Bean the movie or Fairy Tale True Story. And then they're talking about like breasts and they're talking about gore. And the mother's just like, Michael, I'm sorry, Eddie, we're not going to see this movie. That was November of 97. Do you want to tell me when that fucking movie came out on VHS?
When?
May of 1998. So like my math's off, but like 6 months plus before I could see the fucking movie on VHS. Now here's the other thing, infinite patience. There's a window of from when you can rent it to when it goes to pay-per-view to when you can buy it.
Oh my god.
I spent more money on Starship Troopers just trying to see it as many times as possible until Blockbuster finally,
Released it.
finally by the fall of 98 was like, we have previewed copies you can
For
buy
those
now.
who don't know what Blockbuster is, because I know depends on who's listening, you don't know what Blockbuster is. That's before that was the Netflix of that time. You could get video games, game consoles you could rent out and hold.
But that's not even, but okay, you're not being fair here. It was not the Netflix of its day because on a Friday or Saturday night, if you wanted to rent The Mask with Jim Carrey, and you did not get there first thing in the morning, if you went on like a Friday night at 6 o'clock or a Saturday night at like 4 o'clock, your ass was shit out of luck because you'd see it and it'd be a wall of just the video, the box for the video. If there were no videos behind the box, that meant there were no copies left.
Okay.
You went home
Yeah,
empty-handed.
that's yeah.
Your ass went home
Well, you would have
empty-handed.
to. I mean, if you really wanted that movie, you would have to go to like whatever the next blockbuster was. There was no Google back then. You just had to ask around. Remember that? You had to ask
Dude,
around.
I worked at Blockbuster towards the end. I worked at Blockbuster during like to quote like the little kid that said, "Stop! It's already dead." I worked during Blockbuster in that era, where it was basically like dude, you could rent these same DVDs at your library for free, and there's no
Oh
late
yeah, I
charges. Like,
remember when my library started doing that, and yeah, dude, the first. Oh, check this out. So, I remember when they first started doing that, and they had CDs. The first CD I ever got
mm.
from the library was the Foo Fighters' third album. There's nothing left to lose. I never gave that album back. You know how many stuff I stolen from the library and never returned?
Oh, my favorite was so back in the day. I don't know. So again, I don't know how global Stop and Shop is. In
Oh,
Massachusetts,
I
we have
have
Stop
I
and
have a
Shop.
Stop and Shop where I'm at too.
Okay. So back in the day, Stop and Shop used to have video
Oh
stores.
yeah, you're
And I
right.
remember the video store at the Stop and Shop, and I believe it was Stoneham had closed. And my buddy had rented an SNES cartridge. And I looked at him and I was like, hey man, you own that now, right? He goes, what do you mean? I go, they closed. You own that now. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, they went out of business. You own it.
That's
You would have thought I told the kid he hit Powerball.
that's great.
He went through. But that I again, like I laugh because that's my kids have no concept of that. No
Yeah, I
concept of
was just talking
that.
to a resident about that because so one of the resident was doing like spring clean. They were throwing stuff out, and they just because I have all these videos, but I had a VCR, but my VCR that my mom I got from my mom's house was kind of like messed up a little bit, so it wouldn't read the little roll to roll, the little wheel things wouldn't really turn like that. The VHS player. And then a resident just so happens to be throwing out a VCR. I said, "Hey, you're throwing that out?" He's like, "Yeah, cause it's good. It's just I just have no use for it, cause it's just we don't use it." I said, "It works though." He's like, "Yeah." Can I have that because I have all these videos and I don't have a VCR to play them in. Even though the VCR my mom gave me, it semi works, but this one's a DVD player and VCR, and that's so rare.
Oh
So I
God.
said, yeah,
I,
I'll
yeah.
take that home. And I had it underneath like so we have like a little table for like perishable packages and stuff like, like Leap, like Thrive and Factor and all that stuff that people have to pick up before the day's over. And I had it underneath the table, and people passing by be like, yo, is that a VCR? I was like, yeah, a resident gave it to me. And now it's just like, I don't know, like, so, oh wait, so um back to my resident George. He's so into like collecting stuff, so videotapes, records, CDs, stuff that whatever. So there's a spot in Hoboken called Tunes, which if we ever meet up, I have to take you to the spot because dude, what I saw in that store will blow your mind. But anyway, wait, where am I getting with this? So anyway, so just because of him, I'm getting inspired to want to start collecting shit now because of him. And he got me that Cinderella CD. I mean that Cinderella DVD. Oh my god, I can't talk today. Yeah, that
VHS.
Cinderella VHS for my wife, and I'm like, yo, because he said he goes to garage sales, flea markets. So I said, yo, let me
Oh yeah,
know,
dude.
yo, because I love
I
that.
have
I love
a
that.
I got a VCR at the big mega thrift store, which in my area is Savers.
Okay.
Um, I got one for like 14.99, and now I went through a spell of like I owned seven, didn't work, and because of the way of some thrift stores work, you couldn't return it. So it was like, well, you bought it as
Yeah.
is. And I found the one magical VHS or VCR that's in my living room, and my kids laugh their balls off at me because I'll show them, I'll pop in like so. I've been collecting VHSs since I was a kid. So when I was younger in high school in Boston, when my friends and we would take the bus and we'd go to Harvard Square or we'd go into like, we'd go to Cambridge, whatever. And I'd go to these old like mom and pop like record stores, or we'd go to like Newbury Comics back in the day, or like Strawberries. There was like a
Wait,
3, 4 floor Strawberries.
strawberries. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yo, I'm sorry because I remember strawberries. I remember Sam
Oh,
Goody,
dude,
coconuts, HMV. Like I remember, yo.
so back where I grew up in Stoneham, we had a coconuts, then it became a strawberries. And then when I was a kid on Route One in Saugus, there was a like a tiny hole in the wall of strawberries where it was a lot of like cassette tapes, VHS tapes, shit like that. And I was showing my kids, so I still have the VHS tapes that I bought when I was in high school. So like I have a concert of Mad Season playing at the Moore Theater in Seattle.
Holy shit.
I have all the old like New Kids on the Block VHS tapes.
My
I
sister will
have.
probably rob you because my sister
Oh,
loves.
dude, my sister tried to run. Well, because I grew up a blockhead because I'm the youngest of three. I have two older sisters. So before the Guns N' Roses days, both of my sisters they went to oh my God, they went up to Maine to see the Summer of Magic tour for Step by Step when they're touring
Step
that
by
album.
step.
I actually found a shirt from that concert. My sister was so mad. She's like, I was actually at that fucking show, asshole. Why did you get the shirt? I'm like, it's a sweet
Yeah,
shirt. And I
dude.
used to work
Wow.
when I used to work at a hard rock station. The first day I walked in wearing that. Now, mind you, the station I worked at was this is like the Obama years, but this is when like things were going sort of like crazy to the right, and like all these staunchy Republican type, rah 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 America type people, and that was the
America.
station I worked at without knowing it. And I'd walk in either wearing that or my Lady Gaga shirt, and they just looked at me. They're like, Eddie, if it wasn't you, you'd probably get your ass kicked. I'm gonna be honest with you. My boss just looked at me. He's like, only you, sweetie. You're the only guy I know that can stand behind an AAF console wearing that
Hey,
shirt.
you know
I'm
what?
like, because
That's
I'm in.
real. That's real, bro.
Well, because she laughed because she's like, I know you actually listen to them. That's the thing. Because I worked at West Elm. For a second job, I worked at West Elm, and a woman even admitted to me, she was like, Eddie, until I heard the music you were playing, because I was a stock guy, I used to work in the back, and they'd have one guy back there at a time. And I'd have my iPod going. I'd be listening to like Madonna, New Kids on Block and shit. She goes, I saw you walk in wearing the New Kid shirt. And this is around the time with like, hipsters and shit. She was like, I thought you were wearing that to be ironic. And then I came back to like grab like a light fixture or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, he's actually listening to the album. Like this motherfucker is, and he wonders why he's single, but he's actually listening to Step by Step, not just like he's listening to the fucking album from beginning to end. I'm like, dude, because I grew up on like my love of music is like, so you said earlier, I do this existential mixtape thing. A lot of people were telling me they were like, especially when I played Hole, everybody lost their minds. Like, dude, you played
Dude,
Hole,
I
but you played a
love a
deep cut. I'm
hole. Are
like,
you kidding me? Like, bro, and dude, people used to
but
kick my
everybody,
ass
well,
for listening to
well
this kind of music because everybody around me would, because okay, so a lot of people around me were like Hispanics, black people for the most part. So, like, I was just one of those people that listened to like Michelle Branch, POD, Puddle of Mud, and then
mm.
I would go from that to Avril Lavigne, Michelle Branch, Phoebe Dobson, to like Led Zeppelin, Velvet Underground, and they would look at me like, "What the fuck?" So that's why I
Oh,
always,
I love Michelle
bro.
Branch.
This is why I always got along with the teacher. As a matter of fact, and this is a fun fact, which I can't wait to have this interview. But I don't know if you know like punk rock like that, because I love punk rock. There's a band from New York. They broke up and they got back together a couple of years ago, and it's called Satia. They're a band. The bassist was my global history teacher. He's the one that put me onto punk rock.
Oh, Get Out, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
and I reconnected with him recently. I went to two different shows already. One was in Garwood, New Jersey, and the other one was the Bowery Ballroom in New York. And man, and then I got introduced to these other bands, like a band called Medicinal, and I was just like, "Holy crap!" Like I forgot what punk rock was like. I'm the guy. I'm not the guy in the audience. I'm the guy that's always in the balcony. You'll never see me jump around. You'll never see me do that. But bro,
Oh, dude, on the footage, like growing up in high school, seeing the old footage on MTV of like people
yeah,
moshing and people stage diving and shit, it looked really appealing. And then I remember going to Lupo's in Rhode Island with a buddy Magnum. I went to see Sonic Youth
Sonic
when
Youth.
they came out with Sonic Nurse. They were touring. No, it wasn't Sonic Nurse. Shoot, it was Rather Ripped, I think was the album that they were touring.
Speaking of Sonic
And
Nurse,
fucking
that place in Hoboken I was telling you about called Tunes, they have the poster of that concert. That the when they
oh,
first
dude.
came out with Sonic Nurse, like the whole tour. It was freaking crazy. They even had Rage Against the Machine, like their very last concert before they broke up. They have the freaking poster. Like they have
Oh, dude,
stuff
I
like that's why I feel like I'll blow your damn mind because the things they have there, I'm like, yeah, you're not finding this anywhere else.
So when I got my tax return, I did the most irresponsible thing I could do because I also knew I'm like I'm gonna be in debt until the day I die. So I'm gonna try and spend some money on my home and on myself. I got a tattoo and I got some posters in my living room because my kids it's very sterile in this condo. So I'm like, all right, my kids and I were just talking about wanting to have like a theater set up.
Nice.
So I got a bunch of movie posters, but like obscure ones. Because I'm like, dude, they got to be obscure. So like, I got Freddy's Dead, which is a poster I owned from a comic book store way back in the day. Halloween, the Curse, Michael Myers, Ghostbusters 2, Wayne's World, The Wedding Singer. But I was looking at concert posters. I'm like, okay, I'm 37. Now I'm single. I'm divorced. Like, what's the cutoff age for like? And the answer, there's really no fucking answer. So it's like a rhetorical question. But like, because I still wear band shirts and movie shirts and shit like that. But it's like, what's the cutoff if you're trying to date and you bring the girl home and there's a fuck ton of framed concert posters in your room and she's like, yeah, because that was my room as a kid. I used to go to a fuck ton of concerts, and I used to collect. That was one of the things I used to collect concert posters.
Mm.
Like you go to Newbury Comics or some like comic book store or like some mom and pop place, and I would always find the most obscure, like the coolest fucking posters. And my room was just like like literally it was just pictures of like Hit Parader. I used to buy that magazine. I'd like tear out like the pictures and like tape them on the wall and stuff like that. I'm like I'm 37, just chill, Eddie, with the posters. But you mentioned, I'm like, dude, there's so many. Like, I remember getting a poster from the Pearl Jam Riot Act tour when I went to see them in Mansfield, and I'm so bummed that I lost that poster. I had that. I had this really badass like blacklight Freddy Krueger poster.
Damn, bro.
I don't think I can get away with a blacklight poster at my age now,
You'd
but
be surprised. I mean, if I talk to my resident George, he's the kind of guy he'll actually find anything. I don't know how.
oh, I know people like
I don't know
that.
how. So check this out. And it's so funny to talk about posters. Do you remember when the Foo Fighters came out with Wasting Light in 2011? Remember the movie?
Yes,
So I
yes,
went to the movie.
back and
Yes,
forth.
I went
Yep.
to the actual movie. Like they did the album. Actually, this is before they released the album. So they did the documentary, and then there was the light. There was supposed to be the performance right after. You could see it in 3D, or you could just see it regular. And I had the poster, right? And anyway, long story short, I never got to hang it. I think I hung it up on the wall and I took it down because I was gonna rearrange my room, and my second girlfriend, bro, like got so mad at me. We was having an argument. I said, you know what? Screw this. She takes the poster and rips the poster in half, bro. Like I was so
Oh,
mad, bro. And my parents went to Puerto Rico that weekend. I was so mad. I'm like, they don't make these posters anymore. I know you were pissed at me, but of all the things you could have broke, you break that? Like, bro, like I lost my
oh.
mind. And you'll never.
So Andy had his CM Punk John Cena moment. John, my diet soda. Babe, my
Yeah,
poster.
my babe. Oh my god,
Yeah,
Big Eddie. I was so mad because that was
dude,
that
that was actually.
poster
I think that
that
was.
you'll never. It's a black poster with them, and this is them promoting like wasting light back and forth, like the documentary at the Pavilion Theater. And then there was a. So I don't know if this happened to you, but it's happened to me when the release date it was. What happened? Oh, there was like a glitch in the movie theaters, and apparently a lot of people were going through that, and they were like, "Hey, so we apologize. So just hold on to your tickets, and you go to whatever nearest theater you can go to, any theater, and and you could watch the movie for free, so you don't have to pay for it." I don't know. Did that happen to you too, or did that only happen in New York? I wonder.
So I didn't go to see the movie. I actually caught the documentary on VH1 Classic, but I still had cable back in the day. I watched the whole thing on VH1 Classic. I was gonna say that was the last physical CD I ever owned. Was because every CD, because they did the reel to reel for that album,
Yeah.
so they didn't do it digital. They didn't use Pro Tools. So what they did was they cut up the reel to reel and they put pieces of the actual
Yeah, from
the
the Sound
tape
City.
in
Yeah,
every
it
CD.
was. Yeah,
Yeah,
because they even did a documentary about Sound City and then the actual board. Like and
yeah.
I was mad when Dave Grohl said, "Oh, I thought they would have put that in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They were throwing that out." I was like, "Wait, what? Why would you throw that out? That's
Oh,
history." Like,
you'd be surprised how quickly the nerd in me, like I go back and I think about these famous records, like recording studios, or like even something like the saddest thing I ever saw was like somebody had a picture and they're like I'm on the fucking, I think it was the Universal lot or something, but they had the Ecto 1A, the original Ecto 1A from Ghostbusters 2, and it was just sitting in some lot rotting out.
I would be pissed.
I'm like, dude, you don't fucking put that shit in a museum. You just let it fucking die. Like that's awful. Like, dude. And then I think back to like back in the day when they used to have those contests. Like Taco Bell had the contest, you win the Batmobile. If you pull the thing and it's George Clooney, you win the Batmobile. Since
Damn.
I was probably like maybe 16 years old, I'm like, I want to make a documentary and see if anyone actually fucking won that Batmobile. Because I to this day I'm like, that was the conspiracy. There's no fucking way anyone won, because there was nobody was ever announced. It was never like, oh, so and so from Hoboken, New Jersey, they won the Batmobile. Like, you never heard a word
You know
about the
what's so
Batmobile.
funny? You know what that reminded me of? Do you remember back when In Your House first came out and they actually bought the house and they gave away the house at In Your House?
Oh, oh yeah,
That's what that reminds.
dude, MTV was famous for that.
They
Like
ended up
the whole
selling
like,
the
we'll have
house
Anthrax
too.
come to your house.
They ended up selling the house later. The guy who
Oh yeah,
yo,
that's like the documentary about the kid that what was it? It was like the helicopter or the jet or something from
oh
Pepsi.
god,
Like there was a whole documentary on Netflix about it where like the kid was like, no, you advertised it, I want it, and he went through like a whole fuck ton of lawsuits because they're like, no, we never actually said. He's like, it was in the
yeah, it
commercial, and
was.
then you re-edited the commercials. Like my friends and I did it. That was a big thing. My friends and I, because we were all smokers back in the day, back when there was still the Marlboro Miles,
Marble.
and then when they still had the catalog, and X amount of Marlboro Miles, we would get you a Marlboro Hummer. And it's the saddest story to ever tell, but like one of these days, I'm like, I'm gonna write that into a book because it's sometimes truth is a lot sillier than fucking
Yeah,
fiction.
100%.
There's a summer where six of my friends we collected enough Marlboro Miles to get the Hummer,
Bro, that's awesome.
and then they discontinued the catalog. Like, get the fuck out of here! Do you have any idea how much cancer is in our lungs right now from trying to win the fucking
Yeah.
car?
Oh my god. I remember, dude, the reason why I started smoking like years ago was because, like, remember the Newport, like in the magazine ads, you see guys smoking a Newport or cool, and you had girls next to them. So I was like, oh yeah, I want that. Like, oh god, how stupid should I have been?
I like that yours is more conventional versus mine, which was like you smoked because you saw like an ad. And I'd always laugh because I'd be at the library, which is apparently getting shut down now, which is heartbreaking. But I'd be in my old town, and I'd be at the library, and then I'd go over to the DB Mart next door, and you always see the ad, and it was like Newport, and everybody be playing soccer, and I'm
Yeah,
like, dude,
soccer.
everybody in my family smoked. I'm like, my grandfather's having emphysema. I'm like, the last thing I could see on a billboard of my grandpa doing with a butt hanging out of his mouth is him playing fucking soccer. The motherfucker can barely make it up a flight of stairs. That is clearly false advertising.
God.
I actually became a smoker. It's the most pathetic thing I'm glad to admit this because of rock stars. Because in every fucking music video I saw with Guns N'
Yeah.
Roses, Duff McKagan or Slash always had the butt hanging out of their mouth. Or like John Frusciante, when he would play guitar, he would take the his cigarette and he would put it into the headstock of the guitar.
Oh
So he'd be playing,
yeah.
you'd see like this. And I remember, I was funny. There was a guy when I was filming a select board meeting. He was laughing because I mentioned that, and he's like, "Oh my God, Eddie, you're killing me right now." He goes, "Dude, I had so many friends that used to pull that shit in high school." He's like, and the girls loved it. I'm like, dude, I'm obviously much younger than you. When I would play shows in the early 2000s and the butt would go into the headstock,
Mm.
oh my God, you couldn't do that now. And I'm sure like many of my exes or girls back then would be like, ew, that's so disgusting. Back then, they thought it was the coolest thing on the planet. You were the coolest motherfucker on the planet if you're just shredding on your guitar and you got that butt just hanging out of the headstock and you're occasionally in between solos or whatever, just like picking the butt out of the headstock, taking a drag and then putting it right back where it
Yo,
belongs.
didn't like maybe I'm wrong, but didn't Kurt Cobain do something like that, or wasn't he smoking during like the MTV Unplugged?
MTV, it was, well, he did during Unplugged, it was MTV Live and Loud. Him and Pat Smear, all of them, with the exception of Chris. Kurt would light up, he would light up a butt, and then he'd go into like Drain You or something, and we'd just take the butt and like flick it like arbitrary, just off stage or whatever. And it was so stupid, but as a
That was
kid,
cool.
I would do that. It was fucking cool because it was like, here's a dude who's as skinny as I am, left-handed, blue eye, long hair, looks just like me. And here he is in his little pea coat and his fucking jeans and his obscure band t-shirt, and he's ripping a butt, and like the girls in the car are like, oh my God, he's so gorgeous. I'm like, now I'm looking at it like my teeth are disgusting. Like I'm trying to quit because it's so bad. Like the shit that, again, if you could get into a time machine and tell people not to do that stuff when they're in high school, because to me it was like, I was always a very introverted kid growing up, and I was just terrified of my own shadow. So it was like, for me, that was like, I grew up with
Yeah,
music.
no, me too.
I
That
grew up with
got me through
everything.
childhood. Music, wrestling, and just writing a lot because my dad used to write poetry, and I was always like sheltered. So, and like it was watching my
Same.
dad write a lot. I didn't know what he was writing. I say, oh, I'm gonna write something, and it just became thoughts and poetry and words. I mean, I don't consider myself a poet. I consider myself a guy who just write thoughts down that looks like a poet, poetry, but whatever. But that music, wrestling, that's really what got me through childhood, really. And all these old sitcoms I used to watch, like Full House and Boy Meets World. Like I never had a Topanga. I was never Corey Matthews or I never had a Sean Hunter as a friend. But like,
You know what's funny though? As much as like Sean lived in a trailer, his dad was
he
a
was
janitor, then his
cool. I'm
dad
sorry, he
died,
was
he had Mr.
cool.
Turner and shit. He was cool, but the funny thing is I never, even with where I grew up, I never felt like a Sean Hunter. Never want. And that was so. My mom loved
Yeah,
music. We grew up with the Moody Blues, Elvis Presley, Dolly Parton, fucking all kinds of music, Fleetwood Mac. Like
Fleetwood Mac.
everyone in my family loved Fleetwood
Yeah,
Mac.
see, like I grew up
It wasn't
Prince.
until I got to high school. It wasn't until I got to, I'm sorry, middle school actually. And my friend Sean was like, Eddie, you got to listen to Nirvana. I'm like, why? And he was like, dude, like, so he intercepted. I wrote a love letter to a girl in like seventh grade. And she got in trouble because she passed the notes, and the teacher actually took a pin and pinned it to the wall.
Oh, that's so wrong.
And I was so embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God, Sean fucking stole it. And he fucking read it. He was like, dude, I gave it back to the girl. I hope that's okay. I'm like, well, I don't know if she wants it because she rejected me. But then I went to the girl. She's like, no, do you mind if I keep it? It's the most beautifully written thing I've ever read. I was like,
Wow.
but you don't want to date me. She's like, no, but I think you're a great writer. I'm like,
Wow.
okay.
Oh,
Sean read it
thanks.
and he called me the night I was, funny enough, I was watching SummerSlam 2000. I was
Which
right in
one
the
is
middle of,
that? Is that the
I
one
was,
with Jesse Ventura, or that's the year before that? Like, well,
that was the year before. So Ventura was Mankind, Triple H, Stone
right.
Cold, Triple Threat. TLC number two was SummerSlam 2000. That was when Undertaker wrestled Kane and he ripped the chunk off the mask.
Okay, but you saying the TLC, was that TLC with what? Were they with Terry Runnels already, or this is after Terry Runnels?
That was after. So it was at WrestleMania 2000. It was the Dudleys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian. Then they ran it back at Summer. So a lot of people forgot this. So they think that TLC 2 was WrestleMania 17. No, it was SummerSlam 2000. They repeated the
Yeah,
triple threat, the
damn.
TLC match.
You're right. It was SummerSlam 2000. Yeah, you're right. I forgot
Because that
about
was the same
that.
SummerSlam that it was X-Pac versus Road Dogg. I don't even remember. I know The Rock was in the main event, but I don't even
You
remember
know
who the fuck
what?
he wrestled, to be honest with
While
you.
you're
But
talking that, and it's even though it's not video because my camera's kind of like messed up right now. But anyway, it's not. I'll Google it while you're talking. But yeah, but go ahead, keep going because I'm curious to know
but
now.
anyway, so I'm in the middle of watching SummerSlam, and my buddy Sean calls me. He's like, before we start eighth grade, you're gonna start listening to Nirvana. You're gonna keep writing like you write to that girl, and we're gonna start a fucking band.
Do
I'm like,
Do you have
okay. He
music?
was like, no,
Do you
I'm
still
dead
have music
serious.
from that band or?
So that band never recorded me. I have music that I've put out there. I have music from other bands, but I actually put out an EP back in 2016, and the name of the group did not age well. At the time I thought I was very clever, like I had a reason, but it was called Snuff Film Society. And I remember a few radio stations played it, and during one of the comments on Facebook, someone went, "Oof, that name." Initially, I came up with a name for that group because it was after. So before George Floyd, there was a man who was selling cigarettes. Individuals, it was illegally selling cigarettes, and he got accosted and subsequently murdered by the police.
Oh wait, did they choke when
And
it said it was a big fat dude?
I can't breathe.
Yeah, that
That was the beginning of I can't breathe. So I remember I'd seen that on the news, and at the time I was writing music, and I said, we've become a snuff film society. Like we're literally watching people die in real fucking time. And everybody kept trying to tell me, like, Eddie, that's a horrible name. That's murder porn. I'm like, but isn't that basically what the fucking news is? Isn't that what social media is? So anyway, so I did this project. I wrote all the songs, all the lyrics, and it was called Snuff Film Study, and the album was called Millennials. And I wrote all the music and all that shit. But going back to Sean, like he was just so, Sean was at me. He's like, dude, so we go to Town Day and Stoneham, and he was like, you're going to buy that Kurt Cobain shirt, and you're going to buy this Nirvana bootleg, and call me at the end of the day. And by the end of the night, I called him like, dude, what the fuck is this? And he was like, dude, and all he had to say to me was, he goes, dude, that's you.
oh shit.
He goes, that's fucking you. And he's like, dude, so his uncle was in the hospital. His uncle passed away, but during something, he was calling me because he was in the fucking emergency room. And he was talking to me about his uncle. It was the first time a friend had ever reached out to me. Now we're seventh graders, like 13. That was the first time anybody, actually, it was probably the second time that time, somebody reached out to me to like have a heart to heart, and it was a guy.
Wow.
And that's what he said to me. He's like, dude, it's fucking you. Like, when you were talking to me on the phone when my uncle was dying, that's what you sound like when you talk to your friends, dude. That's the shy kid that, because he used to throw pencils at me in our English class, because I'd just be so quiet and I wouldn't talk. And he's like, dude, I throw a pencil at you just to see if you were still alive. Because he was like, dude, you were so goddamn quiet. Like, and I'm like, I know he's a cool kid because he's friends with this other kid I'm friends with. Why the fuck is he so quiet? And then, like, and according to him, he's like, because he hasn't found Nirvana yet. He's got to listen to Nirvana. No sooner than I got into Nirvana, that's when I started to, like, come out of my shell and, like, start writing poetry, start
Okay.
singing, start, like, playing guitar and shit. And, like, so to me, that's, like, it's funny because that Nirvana did that. I have a Pearl Jam tattoo on my right forearm,
Wow.
but it was really Nirvana that galvanized all that. The reason I got the Pearl Jam tattoo was because I go back to when I graduated high school. It was a year after that, it was 2006. I got to see Pearl Jam. They put out the self-titled The Avocado album,
Okay.
and I got tickets like the day before the show at the Garden in Boston. And I go, and the set list from beginning to end, it was all my favorite songs. I'm like, fuck, goddamn, dude. Like, I don't think I could ever see them again because it was such a good show. A couple nights later, I'm watching VH1 Storytellers, and Eddie Vedder, they're about to play Alive, and he was explaining the story. He's like, he thought that the song Alive was a curse because the song was about how his mom told him that the guy he thought was his dad wasn't his dad, and the guy he thought was an uncle, that was his dad, but his dad passed
Oh
away,
shit.
and that's what the song was about. And he said, so I always felt that to me the song was a curse because if I'm alive, it's a curse to be alive. And he went into this whole bit about, and then we record 10, we're a band, we go on tour, and every night, every single one of you sing that song right back to me. And he goes, and it felt like the curse was lifted.
Hmm.
So being alive wasn't a curse anymore.
Interesting.
And I've been going through this for like years of like, I remember seeing the Stick Man from the Alive single and being like, and a friend told me like, dude, that's got to be your first tattoo. And this is probably in like 2002. They're like, dude, if you ever get a tattoo, that's fucking, again, that's you. That tattoo, it looks like you. It's a skinny long haired dude with his arms in there. Like, dude, that fucking thing looks like you.
Hmm.
So when I got my tattoo, I just kept that in mind. I'm like, because going through my own issues with my dad
Yeah, man.
and then being a dad myself, is just feeling like, oh, so when my kids were born, the curse was kind of finally lifted of being alive wasn't a curse anymore. Now I'm alive for you. And now it's up to me to make sure that you guys I don't repeat the same cycle that was done to me, that sort of
No,
thing.
that makes sense. I get that because every day, even though my dad's passed away like 2018, so what was that, like five? No, that's like 7, 8 years ago, I guess it was. But I always had that
No,
mindset, like I want to make sure I don't repeat the same cycle my dad did. And I realize now, like, I don't think he really understood. Because, the thing is, my dad was born in the islands. He wasn't Americanized Puerto Rican. So he was just doing the best with whatever was given to him. And because it was a language barrier, he didn't really know English like that. He spoke Spanish. So I always said in the past that I went through a lot of unintentional gaslighting, unintentional verbal abuse because I don't think he really understood. I don't think he knew that they were doing that generation. And little do they know, which, unfortunately, it's one of those things where, well, that scarred me for life. And then now I'm trying my best not to be the same way with my kid because I only have one child. And that's the only shot me and my wife have because my wife's already in her mid 40s, going to 50s, and I'm about to be 40. And it's just one of those things like I sometimes catch myself being like that. And also, like, let's say when he used to think about his mother, he would get depressed a lot. And then sometimes I catch myself being like that, but I have to remind myself I can't be like that. Like, I'll have my moment and then, okay, just move on now. In opposed to like the day my grandmother died, he always used to get depressed and he would drink beer and medicate
right.
that. And it's like, I don't want to be like that kind of thing. So I feel like that curse of me getting depressed has been lifted. But I mean, the pain's never gonna go away, right? It just doesn't hurt as much anymore. But there's that scar that reminds you of the pain sometimes. But even though I don't feel the pain, but I still see it because it's so like there. Like I don't know about you, but I know for me personally, like my dad died, took his last breath in front of me, right in front of me and my mom. So it was still kind of like fresh to me because I'm like, all I heard was that's all I heard, and then that was it. And it's just like, how do I tell my mom who's older than me from a different generation than me that hey, your husband's passed away? Instead, I just tell her,
Right.
hey, we're gonna wait till brother and sister come here, and then we'll determine what's what, hoping my mom, because my mom was still in denial, right? My mom was still with the whole, oh, he just went into a coma. He'll eventually, I'm just thinking in my head, like, oh, God, I don't think my mom understands what a coma is, but, I get it. Like,
I think that's probably more of like a coping mechanism
yeah,
too.
of
If like,
course.
you know what I mean? Like not wanting to lose the love of her life, not really cognizing like it when it's over, it's final.
Yeah.
Like it's so and to your credit, like I was fine. I was gonna say when you mentioned your dad writing, that was me with my mom writing. Like so, our journey's kind of parallel in that regard because that's why I became a writer was because my mom always had the electric typewriter,
Typewriter.
and
Wow.
she was always telling me she was always writing her the Great American Novel. And I remember being a little kid, probably 5. My dad found a printer in a dumpster. It was one of those old like the old school
Yeah.
printers. I mean, not typewriters, and I'd set my little type table next to her, and I'd just be mashing buttons and shit. But I'm like, I'm writing my story too. But then eventually, that was what put me on that journey. And like same thing with our fathers. It was we had a really contentious relationship. Just a real, and it was I think it was just old school type. Like as a dad now, I give him a lot of like I know it's gonna sound a little corny, but I give him much more grace
Yeah.
now. because as a dad, I realized, especially he was a warehouse worker. My parents weren't college grads; they
Yeah,
were high
those
school
are my
grads.
parents too.
Mom
So
was a medical.
yeah.
Yeah, dad was a warehouse manager. My mom was a medical secretary, and they were
Oh yeah,
always
100%.
struggling. And it was like, and kids don't get that.
Yeah.
Like my kids don't get it with me any more than I understood it with my. Why can't I get this CD? Why can't I get this code book from Mortal Kombat? Now it's like I feel horrible because I look back and I'm like, fuck. Like I wish, and you can't do it. So it's kind of like you beat yourself up. And it's like, what are you beating yourself up for? Like you just try to give yourself and that person grace to just know, like, hey man, if it didn't go the way it went, just know in your heart and in your mind and in your soul that like he knows one way or another. He found out, and he's probably laughing like fucking hell at me, being like, "Yeah, you motherfucker, now you understand." It's like,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah, I
God, dude.
do.
There be times where like I'll see my son because my son's technically special needs. I was special needs too growing up too, and it's like I
Same.
see myself in my son. I'm like, damn, like I kind of get the anguish my dad probably went through. He just didn't display that, but I see that through my wife, right? Because my wife,
Yeah,
I'm always at work. My wife works, but like she's always with my son. Like she's like the voice because my
right.
son can't talk yet, so he's the it's just one of those things like I see the stress my wife goes through something. I'm like, damn, my dad went through that. And it's so crazy because I feel like the roles are reversed. My dad did everything, my mom was the housewife. With me, I feel like it was reversed. My or the difference was, yeah, me and my wife work, but I'm the guy that's providing, but my wife is the one dealing with my son and his IEPs and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I just hear from what my wife tells me. She updates me on stuff, and because I'm always busting my ass at work, like I do whatever overtime I can take, because that's just how it is sometimes. And yes, I've been blessed with so many things, but yeah, like dude, that struggle is so real. Like I see it now. I'm like,
All
damn, like
right,
I
but
get it.
I want to get this. I want to get this out there because I feel like as a parent, as a dad, it's okay to say this shit's fucking sucks sometimes. This shit's hard.
Yes,
Like, and that's not a knock on your kid. It's just being
it's
a
hard.
parent, whether you're a mother or a father. It's fucking hard, dude. And I just like you were just saying, I was an IEP kid. I was a special ed kid. I had that's why it took me like 9 million years. That's like the indignation of having two college degrees and no fucking
Yeah, I have
job
one,
or like a
and
job that
yeah,
makes more.
I
I have one full time job, but like you would think that I was fucking sitting around like doing nothing because it's just like unfortunately like I don't make enough to cover my nut, so to speak. Like and I do the same fucking thing. I look back and I think of my parents because my mom was that mother. My dad was very like not he wasn't demonstrative as my mother would say. Like he was very like he was like a sphinx. Like you couldn't get a read on him because he was
yeah.
very
Oh my
shut
God.
down and reserved. Whereas my mother was hands on at all, like the meetings, the IEPs, and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And now my son, funny, funny, you mentioned this. So like before you called, I realized because my the nurse practitioner just put my son on a new medication for his ADHD. Like, oh shit, we're supposed to start there tomorrow. And I like raced to CVS. I'm like, I don't want to blow in. And I know my kids are gonna call during this thing, and he's gonna have more work on his hand, but to get his medication. And it's just like again, it's I just think I'm like, fuck. Like I look back at my parents and I'm like,
Like, how did you do
you
this,
know,
man? Like, yeah, like,
they weren't
right?
perfect,
No, nobody.
but
I'm not
they
perfect.
I feel like I unjustly villainized my parents when maybe I should
Well,
have.
but you
Because
gotta understand.
again, you can't hold this against yourself as a
Yeah, but you gotta
teenager.
understand too, Eddie. Like back then, we didn't understand what we understood now because you got. It's like I said before.
Yeah,
Like my parents.
you don't understand until you're doing
Right,
it.
exactly. They don't. They didn't know they were gaslighting us. They didn't know they were verbally abusing us. They didn't. They didn't know that's what that was. Especially my parents, because they were again. They're Puerto Ricans. They're not from America, even though they're considered Americans. Like they didn't understand culture because they were stuck in their 1950s. Because they were 1950s Puerto Ricans. And the thing is, people think I'm full of crap, but there actually is a difference between a 1950s Puerto Rican, a 1960s and 70s Puerto Rican, and to like a 1980s, 1990s Puerto Rican. Like, even though I was born in the mid 80s, but I'm technically a 1990s Puerto Rican, technically speaking, because I was raised in the 90s, and our mindsets are not the same as somebody from the freaking 80s. Like, it's not damn same. Because
I
the way.
mean, but the same, it's no different in America too because you have your the greatest generation. You have the 60s, the Vietnam generation, then you have the boomers, then you have Gen X, then
Right.
you have
But
the
remember,
millennials and all that.
people don't
And it
realize when it comes to the 1960s, there was because with the okay, so it's interesting when you say the 60s because the 60s there was also some people from the 1950s, right, that were kind of going against the grain. You know, Allen Ginsberg, the Beat Generation was a perfect example of that.
oh
And people
yeah.
don't realize that paved the way for the 60s and that those two eras within the 50s going to 60s that paved the way for what we have today. And it's funny because Allen Ginsberg was saying, hey, if we keep living this way, if we don't address what needs to be addressed, then this was going to happen. And it's so funny because I look back at his writings and his poetry, and then I look back now how civilizations become. I think if he was alive, he would be like, oh damn, this is what I was afraid of. He preached on
Well, what's funny you
this.
say that is because there was a phenomenal documentary that aired on Stars back in
Stars, yes.
2001. I have it on VHS. I can't find it anywhere else. It's called My Generation, where they compared all three Woodstocks.
Mm,
And when they got to the footage of Woodstock
right.
94, Wavy Gravy had said the 90s is just the 60s standing on its head.
Yeah.
I said the same thing because I was talking to somebody and I'm like, shit, I'm going to be 38 in July. I've outlived so many of my heroes growing up. Like, there was a really sobering moment when I realized that Kurt Cobain's been dead longer than he was
You
ever
know what's
alive.
funny? You ever notice? I don't know if people literally I can't even talk. You know what's interesting about that too? Like how Jimi Hendrix and Kurt Cobain both died at 27, and then Darby Crash was 22 when he passed on, and Pat Smear's the only one. I
Dude,
think he's the
it,
only one that's alive, right? Him and what the bassist maybe.
yeah, well, you know what's so fucked about that is at 37, almost 38, and having kids and being your father yourself, when I was a kid, like my sisters were teen moms. My sister Heather had her baby when she was 16. She got pregnant at 15. My sister Jen was pregnant at 19, had her kid at 20. It didn't seem unconventional to me because in my mind, my sisters were already grown ups. Like they were already paying bills, they're already out of the house, shit like that.
Mindset was yeah
So
okay.
when I look at when I had posters of this young kid in my room when I was like 13, 14, and all the Rolling Stone covers and shit, it wasn't until the 30th anniversary that I'm sitting on my couch. Today Show did a quick little editorial of like, oh, today's the anniversary, 30th anniversary of Kurt Cobain. I went, holy shit, he was a kid.
Yeah,
He was just a fucking kid.
it's
You know what I
interesting.
mean? And like, and then even at like 37, like think about Farley when Chris Farley passed away. I think he was 34. But like, dude, again, he was a fucking kid. Like, I know, like in my mind, I don't know about you, but like in my mind, like I know I'm old, but I still feel like I'm 16. I still feel like a
Yeah, you
kid.
know, okay, I'm glad you said that because I do feel like that too. I feel like, damn, I'm about to be 40 in July, but I do feel because like when I go to a punk rock concert, I feel like I'm still like in my early 30s, and I'm just like, no, I'm not. I'm
Mm.
like, Andy, you're about to be 40. You're a father. Like, you can't think the way you used to think, bro. Like, or you can't act the way you used to act, dude. You gotta, you know. It's like when I'm by myself,
But
I morph into this like back in the day Andy, and I'm like, okay, I'm not that Andy anymore, and it's like it's easy to forget
oh,
sometimes, right? Do you ever go through that?
oh, dude, before I got divorced. So when my first novel, my only novel came out in 2020, I reactivated. I got a new Instagram because I was trying to promote it and all this shit. But it was also pandemic and it was Trump reelection and all that shit. And I immediately morphed back to me at 16 with like a lot of the political posts and a lot of like the like trying to be like an activist shit like that. And my wife is like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, we have kids. You're gonna get us killed. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna get us killed. You know what I mean? But just like some of the stuff that you're writing and you're getting published, Eddie, like it's gonna get us killed, dude. Because that's the thing. When I write, it's not that I haven't matured. It's just when I write, I go back to being that same kid at 16, sitting on his parents' balcony at like 2 a.m. on a summer vacation with the boombox playing Pearl Jam's verses, chain smoking butts, and like drinking beers that my dad put in my mini fridge. Like I'm just out there and I'm just writing about life. I'm just writing about like this is my experience and this is what I want out of this life and this is what I wish that society wanted out of society and this is what I wish the culture would do. Then it's again like it's weird because there's a certain there should have been a disconnect, but for me it's like I still have all the same I don't know what you would call it, maybe just the same fire I had at that age where it's like I take a look at like the culture and be like, this is fucked up. This isn't right, guys. But as you get older and you have a family, you have kids, like there's a lot of people that are very mum and very quiet. They're like, well, I don't want to jeopardize my job, my family, my kids, whatever. I'm like, fuck that. Like, I don't want to be phony.
Honestly,
I
bro,
don't
I'm
want.
glad you said that because you know what? I've always been the kind of person that no matter what I believe, no matter how I walk or whatever the case is, I've always been the kind of person that what you see is what you get. I don't want to change for nobody. You know, I've always been the kind of person that I'm always going to be 100% real with you, no matter how raw and how inappropriate it might be. And there are people within the Christian space that I'm a part of that don't like that about me. They don't like the fact that I don't filter, being discerned and having
Very
filters. Right,
anti-Christian.
but there are Christians who believe. I don't mind engaging in these conversations, because there are people who believe that even this kind of conversation.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the worst candidate for this because technically I'm Irish Catholic,
Yeah, but
but
that's still Christian. That's still
before I
Christian,
was
though. That's still
born,
a part of Christianity, though.
but my point being is that before I was born, my aunt ran off with a local priest. My dad lost his business. My mom used to joke, "You were born into poverty and heresy, Eddie." And I would laugh about that because I think like to me, so religion was kind of far removed from my life, and I grew up with Irish
Yeah, I
Catholics,
grew up. Yeah,
but
I
they
grew
were
up
like
Catholic.
lapsed
Yeah,
Irish
I
Catholics.
grew up Catholic too because my parents were Catholic, and then like I drifted away from just because again everything was kneel down, sit, pray, kneel down, be
Well,
quiet, like
something my grandma said to me. It was so funny because she used to say to me, "Boo Boo," because that was my name when I was a kid because I had crooked feet. So I used to wear leg braces like Forrest Gump.
really.
And they called me Boo Boo because I was always falling down. That's why I had the leg braces because I had duck feet. And so it was so funny because I'm like in my 20s now. And she still, that's what she always comes. She goes, Boo Boo, don't ever forget you were made in God's image. Don't let anyone take that from you. And this is coming from a very devout Catholic woman. And she was like, fuck them. That's why she stopped going to church because there was a lot of stuff she didn't agree with. And then there was the issue of pedophilia and all that. And she was just like,
But
I'm out. But she was saying to me, Boo Boo, like you were made in God's image. Like you are exactly how God envisioned you. And I have this neighbor who's wicked religious. And I'm clearly not, like I've been honest with you. Like there's stuff I believe in, and there's stuff that I'm just like,
right.
But I had this neighbor who she was helping me with the first car that had failed on me. And she got it towed for me, which was awesome. She didn't have to do that. And she just turns to me and she goes, can you stop putting yourself down now? I go, what do you mean? She goes, God does not make piece of shit. You are not a piece of shit. God made you. To me, that's as simple as religion got to me was that there were people in my life who were super religious who I'm sure would hear me talk and be like, oh, for heaven's sakes, what is this man talking about? Who still would look at me and be like, but you're God's child. I don't
I
understand
mean,
it.
here's the thing, right? Because
But
I do struggle a lot with low self-esteem because of the verbal abuse I went through. So even my wife gets on me about it, and you gotta understand something. Like for anyone that's listening, actually, to say, "Hey, stop putting yourself down." I know the intention is not to be insensitive, but I'm gonna explain to you why it comes out insensitive because you don't understand the pain that this person had to go through in order for you to feel like that.
well, because it's not a light switch. If we really wanted egos, like I said this to a potential job that I interviewed with. I said, they told me they're like, oh, you're so extroverted and you're so personable. And I joked and I said, well, that's what happened from my divorce. And she goes, what do you mean? I go, dude, I never, knock on wood, I've never seen the back of a cop car, never been in a courtroom, never did anything wrong. I'm a pretty law abiding citizen. When I went through my divorce, that was the first time I'd ever seen a courtroom or a judge. It was the first time I ever sat in a round table with fucking
Well, and
lawyers.
if you don't mind me asking,
It was the
what is
most,
that like? I don't count jury duty, but
it was the most demoralizing feeling on the planet. It was the most emasculating, demoralizing feeling on the planet because I remember sitting during a mediation hearing, and two lawyers were looking at me like, "Well, I don't understand why he doesn't make enough money, why he cleans toilets for a living when he has two college
Oh,
degrees."
I hate that. I
I
hate that
feel like,
mentality, bro.
well,
No, go ahead.
because I feel like certain people, when you fit into a certain tax bracket, they lose sight of what privilege is, what reality is, and what the struggle is. So, like you, I was never put on a trajectory. I remember taking sociology, and we were shown this video, and it's basically as soon as you're born, you put on a track based off of your family. And I remember watching it and being so depressed after because I'm like, dude, I'm fucked. I'm fucked. Like there was no trajectory for me. And I remember like sitting during that mediation and just feeling so low. And I remember the funniest thing that came out of that first meeting with my lawyer and my ex's lawyer. And her lawyer goes, "Now let's talk royalties." And my lawyer just kind of looks at me and she was trying not to laugh.
Shit.
And the other lawyer goes, "What's so funny?" And my lawyer finally is like, "Yeah, he published a book. Nobody read it. The money he made from the first couple of copies he sold, that's all the money he's going to see for it." And I remember we exited after it was over, we left, and she goes, "You know, I wasn't trying to put you down. That's just the reality of being a writer." I said, "No, no, of course, I understand." And she goes, "No, I feel bad because I saw the look on, like the blood drain from your face when I said," she's like, "I wasn't trying to put you down." I'm like, I didn't think that at all, but that is the reality. The look you probably saw on my face was 5-year-old me realizing that I know a lot of published writers who have agents and got published not independently, but got published by big publishers that still have day jobs.
Right.
And for me, it was like when you sit in a room like that and you're asking about the experience was demoralizing, dude, because I didn't do anything wrong. Was I a perfect husband? God, no. Was
Dude,
that, am I a
I feel
perfect
like I'm
person?
like the
God, no.
worst husband in the world, but yet somehow, again, and I don't, cause I know you're not really into religion like that, but I feel like somehow, some way, God's grace and His favor is always upon me, and I just hope that with that, because I always try not to forget where I came from, right? Because I know people like that, so I'm the kind of person like I like to pay it forward. I say, you know what, I was poor,
Okay,
and I
but
like,
Andy, if
yeah,
I
go
can,
ahead.
if I can interrupt for 2 seconds, you're sitting here saying something I feel like the worst husband. My sister and I, and a good friend and I have this conversation about us as parents. A good parent will constantly say to their friends, to their loved ones, to like their little groups, "I feel like I'm the worst parent on the planet." You know who won't say that? A shitty
Mm-hmm.
parent.
Yeah.
A good husband is going to say, "I feel like a shitty husband." You know why? Because every day that they make a mistake, they're going, "Oh God," they replay. I'm sure the fights, the arguments, the disagreements, whatever it is. And they go, I should have been more patient. I should have paused. I should have taken a break. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. And like I have that conversation with friends of mine who are parents. And a lot of people don't have these conversations because they're terrified because what's the one thing nobody wants to feel like in this world, particularly now, as a parent, as a
Failure.
spouse, as anything? You don't a failure. Thank you. 1000%. A failure. To admit fault, to admit repentance, to admit, "Hey, I'm not perfect." That's not fault. That's admitting humanity. And that's humility. That's saying to the people around you, I woke up and realized I'm not fucking perfect. I'm gonna make a million mistakes. I'm gonna get in the heat of the moment. I'm gonna get emotional. My sister and I now, she's 45, I'm 37. We just had this conversation literally 2 nights ago. And there was yelling and arguing and tears and all that. Normally, hang up, don't talk to you for 2 years. We gave each other like maybe less than a minute or so. And then we were just laughing again because we both realized like this is
Yeah. That's
bullshit.
how me and
Like
my wife are. We'll laugh.
you
God. Like, we'll talk, we'll argue, and if like 2 seconds later, we'll put our heads together and be like, babe, I'm sorry. Like, we're both say, okay.
because you're
Yeah.
human.
Right.
It I get really just dumbfounded by the fact that like it costs nothing to be a good person. It costs nothing to be someone who can just say, "You know what? I fucked up. I'm sorry." It costs nothing. And I mean, this is, for me, this is years of
But
therapy and growing up and realizing like everybody has a
here's
past.
my thing though, right? Because And it's interesting, right? Because I feel like I didn't become reflective until I got married and until my son was born, right?
Mm.
And the thing is, and this is what I really, because I'm especially in this season in my life now, I become so reflective a lot more than I used to be when I was younger.
Well, because it's close to your
Well,
birthday, I'm
that's well,
sure.
yeah, but I've always been like this. I've always been like this. I've always think about, damn, what I could.
Is it like a spring summer thing with you? So when the weather changes, you're kind of like now, it's like introspective for you.
Yeah, yeah, both, yeah, yeah, you could say that.
I'm just saying because my birthday is July too, and I kind of do as soon as like everything starts coming back to life. That's kind of when I'm starting like, okay, let's take inventory here. Let's take emotional and mental inventory
Well,
of
the thing
stuff.
with me too is like I say the last couple of years I've always been like that. It's especially when like once my son was born, I've been very reflective. And here's where I come to the conclusion: I feel like I have more peace because again, this is what makes me and my wife good. That me and her, we could both communicate these things to each other, and we're so good now than we were maybe in the first 2 years of our marriage. And here's the conclusion I came up to with all of this, right? Whether you're, and this is for everybody, whether you're a person of God or not, I think this is just common sense at this point. I feel like if a lot of parents reflected more, I think parenting and the relationship with your kids would be a lot more better. Yeah, you'll fuck up and everything, but I feel like if we reflected more, conflict would be not as much. I don't know if you agree with it, but that's how I feel.
In my estimation, to piggyback off that, I'm not a good parent if I'm not on a daily basis, whether I have my kids or not, because obviously I'm divorced, so I have the
Right.
50-50 thing. Even on the days I don't like tonight, like that's why we were talking tonight. When I don't have my kids, it's as much reflection about my parenting abilities and me as a person as it is when they're in the other room sleeping. So for me, it's a constant because again, that's maybe a byproduct of how we were
Yeah.
raised. Maybe that's how we grew up. But like I always do that because I'm the kind of person that like, and I joke because I've told this story to a couple of people before. I said, there's one time I was coming out of a liquor store and there was an older gentleman coming in and I held the door open for him. And this other gentleman was standing there, he was smoking a butt. He goes, well, Jesus Christ, look at Mr. Manners over here. And I went, what? He goes, that was really nice of you. And I go, okay, like, why wouldn't I hold the door? He's like, well, someone taught you manners. You come from a good family. I said, not particularly. He goes, well, someone taught you manners. I'm like, and I don't know why, but like it like resonated with me because I'm like, I think it's so weird to point out manners to somebody because it's just something that like, again, it costs nothing not to be an asshole. So like, when you have those days when you're not a perfect husband or a perfect father, or in my case, when I'm like, I really fucking lost my shit today. And you go back and you reflect, well, what can you do better? And I always say to people, like, there's nothing, the two things that drive me crazy is when somebody asks you a question and it's like, you're expected to have an answer. And it's like, dude, I'm not going to have an answer to everything. I'm just not. Like, especially when I worked in customer service, my boss used to tell me, well, why didn't you give them an answer? Because I don't know I don't know how to answer that. Like, they're looking for something. I don't know what they're looking for. If you're asking me a question and it's something I know, believe me, they're going to get like a 20-minute response about stuff I know anything about. The same way when it comes to life, it's like if I have experiences, and I always say to my kids, if I don't know, guys, let me look it up, let me do some research, and I'll get back to you on it.
Amen. Thank you. Because I'm the same way too. Like I said, whether it's about life, whether it's about God or whatever the case is, if I don't know the answer, I say, hey, I'll get back to you. Let me get back to you. And I would give you
Well, because my parents were very famous for let's Mickey Mouse an
Mickey.
answer.
Oh my God.
And the
Oh
problem with
my
that was
goodness.
they were raised to always have an
Yup.
answer ready to
And
go.
sometimes the
But the
answers didn't
problem
even
was
make
is
sense. Like when they say, "Oh, don't do that." Why? Because I said so. My house, my rules. You can't do that. You're not teaching them anything.
and I am to do the Charlie Murphy, Rick James thing. I'm a habitual line stepper sometimes with that because my kids will do something. I'm like, don't do that. And they're like, why? I'm like, because I told you not to do it. But at the same time, then I have to go back and be like, okay, here's the reason why I don't want you to do this. You can't jump on the couch. Why? We live on a third floor
You get
condo.
hurt.
That sounds like a stampede to the people below. Number one. Number two, Dylan, you got braces. If you fall down and knock out your bracket, I got to pay for that. I don't have any money, and that sucks. And then I'm worried about you swallowing your fucking braces in your sleep. Ryder,
Yeah, that's painful. Holy shit.
I'll have to take a second because It's the
Yeah, and then
emotional
sometimes we
thing.
forget.
Because I'm
Sometimes we
used
freaking
to,
forget. I forget sometimes. Sometimes my wife has to smack me up. Not literally, guys. My wife doesn't really hit me. She wouldn't dare hit me. Now I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
and you blink twice if you're
I'm
safe.
kidding. I'm kidding. She's giving me that look.
But no, again, like my sister does the same thing to me. Does she physically smack me? But no, she gives
And
me
she'll
the
give me
emotional
that look
smack
like,
upside the head.
bro,
Like, what?
bro, like, take it easy. I was like, damn, you know what? You're right.
What the fuck are
Yeah,
you doing?
let me take a breath. Okay, my bad.
No, to put it in a more Disney, to run back the Disney thing, it's like your wife looks at you like Mufasa looked at Simba. Remember where you came from, and
Yeah.
it's like, all right, all right, I understand that language. I understand. You ran back to the Disney thing. Okay, I get it now. That's my language. I can speak that. I get it now. All right, I fucked up, fucked up. I'm gonna fix this. That's how I am with my kids. It's like because none of us are perfect. And that's like the big illusion. I think that was the biggest detriment with social media was, and my sister and I talk about this privately all the time. Is like I maxed out a Kohl's charge card. I worked a second job that really sucked and they treated me like crap. But like they had incentives that got me Amazon gift cards. That provided
Yeah,
Christmas
that's
this
how I feel
year.
about my job. Like every Christmas, the residents gives us money. We get money from the building and cards and shit like that. Dude, you know how life changing that shit is? Like I didn't have that kind of money before. I
Oh,
was
I
like,
know.
oh
But
shit.
here's the
And you know what I
thing.
do? Save it.
But Andy,
Save
here's
the
the
money,
thing.
bro. Emergencies, and now the emergencies.
Our Christmases are probably with us kissing the ground and praying to God. Thank you for giving me what I have for my
Yeah.
children. But then you go on Instagram and somebody's got 9 million more gifts than
But
you
guess
do.
what? But
And
guess
you're
what? And
like,
this is what I say.
fuck.
What again? Whether it's God or not. Well, I'm gonna use God in this reference just for the sake of this conversation. Like
Oh, no, that's fine. I'm not offended.
I've had other brothers and sisters be like, "Oh, but I'm trying to bust my ass and I get blessed, but then these people are getting blessed like crazy." And I remember telling somebody this. I said, just because your ex boyfriend is getting blessed with something doesn't mean God's the one that's blessing that person. Because the devil could bless you with shit
Thank
too,
you.
and that shit
Yeah.
could lead to deception. So let's just call it what it is.
You can work this. Okay. This is the only time you hear me sound religious at all. You can play the system. You cannot play God.
Amen. Amen.
God sees everything, man. He's watching you. He fucking, and I know that some people can hear this and me be like, Eddie,
Listen,
really? You're
I
talking
tell
about like
everybody
Santa Claus?
this. Like I've been
Because
through so much to know that like I know God is real because if you really truly believe in the things of God, it's not about the religion, it's not about the structure, it's about relationship. And that's the thing that people don't realize. That has shaped my life into the person I am today. Because before, I was a
well,
very angry dude. I had no sense of motivation or direction. And again, I've been through so many things in my life that I could look back. I'm like, dang, you know what? Had I not given, and this is just me, have I not given my life to Christ, I would be dead right now. Because 2013, I almost committed suicide. There was so many things that intervened, and that happened by design.
ooh, dude, that's fucking
Oh,
weird.
what I said.
That was no, because that was the year I tried
Yeah,
to.
no, yeah. You know what's crazy? I don't know if this is a conspiracy theory. I was 28 years old, right? So this is an interesting story. I was 28 when this happened, whatever, and then I gave my life to the Lord. So I have a poem. I don't have my chapbook on me right now, but back in remember the global history teacher I told you about. So he was
Oh
one
yeah,
of
yeah,
those
yeah.
people, like my greatest supporter, pretty much, right? Like he did this on the Microsoft Word, did this little chat book, which I still have to this very day, and there was a poem in it. I don't remember the name. I don't have it on me so I can read it, but there was one line. This is in 2004, folks, when I wrote this, and I wrote in the line. This one line says, I wish my mom was okay. I wish my life would be. I said something. Then I says, I wish I was 28. I wish I was already living on my own. I wish I had a child to take care of. That's what I said, right? This is 2004. The part that's
And it's like
right. So
manifesting.
I said I wish I was 28. Why did I wish to say that? I don't know. This is the irony behind this. I was 28 years old in 2013 when I gave my life to Christ. This is in 2004. I wrote this. That to
Yeah.
me blew my mind because I'm like, okay, did I predict this? Because look, I do have a child to take care of. My mom is a little okay now than she was ever, and it's just like, this is so ironic because I'm like, what was I thinking at that time that when I look back at it now, and I'm like, Why 28 years old? Like
Because if you're 28, you survive 27. You're the one that brought up the 27 Club, the Forever 27 Club. Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix,
yeah,
Kurt Cobain.
yeah.
So if you make it, and it's Saturn's Return. Have you heard
Oh
that?
shit. Okay.
It's called Saturn's Return. In your 27th year, supposedly, that's when you're given existentially or whatever. You either make it or you don't. And it was funny because Axl Rose did an interview where he said he met Prince, and he goes, Prince. He goes, he was telling MTV, he's like, I asked Prince what his toughest year was, and he said 27 because that's Saturn's return. Supposedly, that's either like you don't make it, like the Forever 27 Club, or you somehow survive it. And I always laugh because I'm 37 now. I'm like, dude, my Saturn return, my dad died. I was 27 when my dad passed in 2014. I have notebooks where I predicted Ed Brophy or Eddie Brophy was going to die in 2014. I was expecting me at 27. I was not expecting Ed Brophy
So
at
wait, here's my
54 or
interesting.
whatever it was.
So you're the same name as your dad?
Yeah, I'm a
Okay.
junior.
So my dad's a junior, but I guess me and my brother were kind of juniors, not really, because so my grandfather's name is Juan Morales, and my yes, folks, I'm gonna give you a little bit of my government background. Yeah, I'm whatever, and
No.
yes, that's where the jam comes from, but I'll explain that in a second. So so my dad's name was Juan. He's Juan Morales Jr., right? So me and my brother have the same first name but different middle names. That's where the Andy comes from because my name is Juan Andres Morales, which that's where the jam and jam them down comes from, folks. Little fun fact. And my brother's name is
Oh shit, that's a little nugget I didn't
oh
even know about. Even the way you said your name though was very musical, and not to sound corny, but like the way you just said your
yeah.
name, your legal name, I was like, fuck. The way your tongue rolled, I'm like,
Well,
American names are not that musical. They're
yeah,
really
well, that's
not.
the Puerto Rican flavor now. Stop. But yeah, and my brother's name is Juan Daniel Morales. Whatever in English is translated as John Daniel, and I'm John Andrew, I guess Andres Andre, whatever. So, but nobody calls me Juan except for work. Everybody calls me Andy, so that's where the Andy comes from because it's short for my middle name. But that's where the jam in Jam Them Down comes from. Because for those, if you listen to my,
Oh, that's so funny. So technically, legally, you're
yeah,
a Juan.
pretty much.
Oh wow! And so I had a friend Juan. He was from Guatemala
Ah,
though,
okay.
and that it's so funny because when I talk to friends, because my buddy Jabo, he's Jim Diaz, but when his brother was alive, before his brother unfortunately passed away, his little brother was 30 when he passed away. He'd always be like, "No, Jim, it's Diaz." He goes, "No, it's Diaz, motherfucker." They get in these arguments, and his brother looked at me like, "I'm Irish. Leave me out of it. I don't know. I take J-Bo's lead. I take J-Bo's lead. I know it's not even J-Bo's not his real fucking name, but I just call him J-Bo. I keep it simple."
God, that's so funny. Wow. But yeah, yes, folks, yes. That's where the jam comes from because my initials is Jam. So, in case you're listening to this for the first time, if you'd ever heard my first episode of me talking about the origin of the name, yes, Jam Them Down was my first user handle name in poetry in 2018 before I changed it to the Andy Morales, then the Andy Morales. But the jam came from my initials. Jam them down. Instead of write them down, I'm jamming them down.
Dude, I am so out of my element here because the only interesting anecdote I have for any of my writing at all, is when I was in high school, I wanted my pen name to be Sage.
Hmm.
And when my friend Sage had changed her name to Sage because they're
Yeah,
trans
that's fine.
and
No,
that's
okay.
her
Problem
identity.
solved. Like, okay.
And I immediately ran to my notebooks and I said, I fucking knew we had a connection. And they're like, Eddie, you know we have a connection. I'm like, no, you have to see this, Sage. And I took a picture of my notebooks and it said Sage. I'm like, I fucking told you we have a connection because that was supposed to be my pen name. I just stayed with my regular name, but I was like, originally I wanted to
No,
be Sage.
just
And
say Sage Brophy. Cause that sounds kind of cool. Oh, cause that still
just
sounds kind of
Sage.
badass. Sage Brophy.
I was gonna be Sage. It was funny because I dated this girl in high school and her aunt was a cop. She was Boston cop, but she was really into like holistic shit and like new age type stuff. And my ex was going through some shit, and the aunt's walking through a room burning the shit. I'm like, dude, that smells like fucking pot. What is that? Oh, it's sage. It's sage. And just walking into the house burns because, and I won't name names because I don't want her to be embarrassed. Nothing to be embarrassed, but her mom was an alcoholic, the aunt's sister, my ex girlfriend's mother. She's like, we gotta burn some of the shit around the house, get the demons out.
Oh,
Like, man, that fucking smells
that's
like pod,
crazy.
dude. What
Because
the
my
fuck
wife,
is that? And I look like they're like, Eddie, it's called sage.
yeah,
I'm
I
like,
only knew.
oh, that's a pretty
Yeah, because
bad.
I only knew about Sage because my wife, before she gave her life to Christ, whatever, like she was into that kind of stuff, like Sage. This is when we were friends, of course. And then there's a bar
Yeah.
in Williamsburg. I don't know if it's still there, but there's a bar. There was a bar. I'm gonna say was because I don't know if it's still there. And I'm not trying to Google right now anyway. But there's a bar called Sage in Williamsburg on Inslee Street. And
The other thing to that, in high school, so I was so obsessed with the word sage, I took child development. I got the mechanical baby to put the key in to make it stop crying. Like, that's how far back, like, when I wanted to be a dad, I knew at 5 I wanted to be a dad, but when I was in high school, I was one of only 2 dudes in child development. And I opted, the teacher told me, you can have the bag of flowers. I'm like, no, I want the fucking baby. Give me the baby. It was such a pain in the fucking ass. But even my mom, like, I'd be taking a shower, getting ready for school, and my mom's like, I had to put the key in. So the name of my baby was Coyote
yo,
Sage.
but that dude,
And then in a psychology class, I had an egg. And it was another sort of like offset of that. And the egg's name was Sage Francis, because that's my middle
yo,
name is
hold
Francis.
up. Not for nothing, those names sounds fucking dope. That actually sounds, bro.
Well, so I found out later on in life that there's a singer. I never listened to him, but his name was Sage Francis. I'm like, well, fuck, now I can't name my kid that. So Coyote came from Coyote Shivers, who is a songwriter, but he played Burko in
Okay.
Empire Records. And I was also obsessed with River Phoenix when I
Yeah.
was a kid.
Oh, the
I don't know why.
Atticus Attic was the name of his band, right?
Yes.
Yes, I know
So
about
Michael
that.
Stipe
Sorry, guys.
actually.
Yes, I know about that. I'm Puerto Rican, but I know about that kind of stuff. That's how crazy and diverse my music is. That I know about things that nope.
No, that's fucking impressive, dude. Because most people don't know that.
Dude, the Viper Room.
Uh,
He freaking died in the Viper Room, and there's actually the audio of Joaquin
oh,
Phoenix literally calling the cops. Like, have you ever seen
dude, I don't even want to get into that because this is a fucking rabbit hole I could go
So
down
you
for
know what?
hours
Hey,
with
so you
you
know what? We
about.
could do it. We could record another episode talking about that if you like, because
Dude, fucking get back to me about the Viper Room because there was a new development about the
if
Viper
I could
Room
do poetry, if I could do poetry
regarding.
back in the Viper Room, I think I've won in this life, bro. I gotta do a show in the Viper Room.
Dude,
I have
I,
to.
hand to God, that was my goal as a kid.
Yo, let's do this
I wanted to,
together.
I
I
was
think we should
obsessed with.
collaborate in that kind of thing. I'm just saying.
By the way, I said there's a YouTube video. The new owner showed because Johnny Depp
Yes.
obviously sold it, and he does a tour of the Viper Room. Dude, it's way fucking smaller than any club I've been to in Boston. And I'm like, how the fuck did you fit 200 people in there to see Tom
Yeah.
Petty and Neil Young
Dude,
and
that
fucking
room,
all
County
that?
Crows was
But
the
oh, dude,
bartender for crying out loud.
Adam Durwood, yeah, he was the fucking bartender because he was trying to. So after August and everything after, he was getting a lot of shit from pedestrians about his
Oh
band,
yeah.
and he did an interview where he said I was at a movie, and this kid came up to me and goes, "Oh, you Adam from Count Crows?" He goes, "Yeah, that's me." Oh, okay. He's like, "If you don't mind, I'm just enjoying the movie." He's like, "Okay." Kid leaves. Next thing, the theater manager goes, "Mr. Durwood, you might want to go out the back door." Why? There's like probably about 200 people waiting
That's
outside.
bro. You know what's funny? Because like, you ever seen the dark side? Was that the dark side? I always forget which dark side. Um.
Dark Side of the
Yeah.
'90s on
Okay.
Vice.
Yeah. Yes, guys. I watch stuff like that. By the way, because I'm sorry, because I know I'm gonna have friends who listen to this and they're gonna be like, "Wait, you like that?" I'm like, "Yes, I love stuff like that." I'm sorry. I just love that. But
Because it's fucking history.
yes,
What it
yes,
is,
exactly.
it's
Yes.
history.
And I forgot what I was gonna say after this, but it'll come back to me. But anyway, oh man, it was about the oh my god, what was I gonna say? Oh shit, damn. Wait, remind me, Eddie, please. I need your intellectual right now.
We were talking about the Viper Room and Counting Crows.
Right, but I was on to something and I forgot. Damn it. All right, it'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. But yeah,
No, but I mean, honest to God, and when I was in high school, when I was a junior in high school, I wrote. So we had to write a thesis paper about what we want to do when we got older. And at the time, I was like, oh, I want to be a movie director because I had just seen Ed Wood with Johnny Depp,
Oh, okay.
and I related so much to Ed Wood because it wasn't. I related to Ed Wood because he was one of those guys. He had a vision, but he was never going to be an Orson Welles. He was always just going to be who the fuck he was. And he always cast his friends in the films, and it was always very mediocre. And I'm like, that's okay though. Like even at like 16, I'm like, that's okay though. Like I know I'm never going to get on SNL. That was my dream as a kid. I wanted to be a sketch comic. I wanted to get on SNL,
Similar.
or I wanted to be a Kurt Cobain.
I wanted to be punk. I
Yeah, I
wanted to be
wanted to
punk
be.
rock and like just anything like that.
I just wanted to be a storyteller, to be honest with you. Like that was the big thing to me because I grew up so insulated and so isolated and so sheltered that like for me, going to school dances was such a jarring experience because I knew I wasn't the most attractive guy in the room, which everybody yells at me. Florence got on my ass, but she's like, "Would you stop saying you're ugly? You're not ugly." I'm not saying it to garner sympathy. I'm saying it because that's truly how I feel about myself, particularly after divorce. But even as a kid, it was like I was okay with a lot of stuff about myself. But for me, it was like the goal was always like I want to do Viper Room. I didn't want to be Ginsberg or Dylan Thomas, so to speak, but like I wanted to be somewhat of like a I don't know, like a countercultural
Yeah, I get
figure.
that.
Even if I'm not Kurt Cobain, if I could settle for being like not even Eddie Vedder, like Mudhoney. If I could have been Mark Arm Mudhoney, I was like
Wow. Okay.
I was there, dude. Like I saw some shit.
But you'd be surprised. Like
Like
sometimes that those are the things that inspired us, man. And the thing is too, because I'm from New York, guys, and you gotta understand something. Like I grew up around pretty much before gentrification was a thing, and I remember like the New York underground scene and like music and art,
oh,
and I
that
grew up around that to the point that
gentrification has made its way to mass, by the way, and
yeah, it's like that in Jersey too.
it, the same
Especially
way.
like
I'm
New York is
sure.
like
I'm
that.
sure Jersey in particular. I'm sure it's devastating because Jersey. Because I have friends that grew up there, and we're like, it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel
No,
like
it
Garden
doesn't.
State anymore.
Yeah, same
The
thing to
same way.
Hoboken, bro. Hoboken, I feel like I'm in Soho in New York, like
Oh, dude. Well, the funny thing about Massachusetts is when people ask, my buddy Mac and I, when we went to Chicago to see Law Blues in 2008, people would ask, well, where are you guys from? Are you from Boston? We said, no, we're from Massachusetts. They're like, well, why are you sounding like from Boston? Well, Boston is the capital of Massachusetts, but we grew up in the suburb like 20 minutes from Boston. But
I've been
like,
to New Bedford a few times because I had a friend that lived.
I'm sorry.
There's this pool hall place called the Garden, and my friend Cheska like. And like, cause she had a friend that lived over there, so that was the reason.
Fuck it, I retract my apology if you're at a pool hall. I
Yeah, it's
love
called the
billiards. I
Garden.
remember
It's called the
going to,
Garden, guys.
I'm one of those guys. It's funny because one of the things that I don't know if anyone's gonna listen who knows me, but like the things that like people are like, even my ex-wife and my kids are like, really, Daddy? I'm like, I
They
love
do
bowling.
too.
I love
Oh, you ever
playing
come to
pool.
Bayonne? There's a bowling alley right by my house.
Oh, dude, I love bowling. I love pool. Like, it's funny is because people will read my shit. Like, he's so dark. He's so depressed. And then at the same token, it's like I'm over at like Atomic Bowling with my kids. Like, Dylan, come on, come on, come on. And it's just like
Because
I'm.
it's the simple things in
That's the
life we
thing.
enjoy. We like the simple. I'm the simple guy. Like I'm the kind of guy. Like if I had to choose between going clubbing and let's say sitting on a porch drinking coffee at 6 in the morning, I'm gonna pick the 6 o'clock in the morning drinking coffee on my porch. Like
I'm not. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not. I'm gonna sound so bad. I'm gonna sound so bad. And this is evidence. I have children. I shouldn't even say this. I would rather be stoned watching Toad the Wet Sprocket music videos and writing
oh,
poems than more than
okay.
anything
You know
else in
what's
this life.
funny? I'm glad you met told the wet sprocket, bro. I don't know. I didn't never knew who they were until maybe like 4 years ago, and that's only because how did I because you know on Spotify you listen to music. Cause I have if you see my playlist is freaking crazy, and you know how sometimes I don't know if you have Spotify or you know about that, but they give you suggestions of
Oh
like
yeah,
oh
yeah.
bands like I
Oh
think it was
yeah.
Third Eye Blind or Beethoven, Caravan Beethoven or something like that. And it's funny, they're very similar. Because I also listened to like Frank Black when he was in the Pixies, when he was Black
The
Francis.
Pixies. I actually just I they opened my the show I put up on Mixcloud last night opens with Gigantic by the Pixies. I'm a
Yeah, I
huge
like
Pixies
that.
fan.
I like that. And then I love Frank Black because this guy, he was Black
Yeah.
Francis, then he was doing his solo thing. And they said, oh, bands like this. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I discovered Told the Rest Sprocket. And when I've heard, I think it was Fall Down, I think it was the first time I ever heard, I was like, wait,
Yes.
I've heard
That is
this. Because
that's
you
one
know
of
how
my favorites.
sometimes you hear a song, let's say when you're back in the day, because there was no
Hmm.
Shazam back then. Because back in the day, I was like, oh, I always wonder who sang that song, but you never know who it is. So you know how sometimes you don't know who it is, but you know the song, and then somebody tells you, oh yeah, it was such and such. So I never knew that was Told the Red Sprocket until I heard that. I was like, oh, I know this song.
Oh, that's one of my fucking. You know, it's
Same thing
funny you
with
say
Gin
that.
Blossom.
My
Same thing with Gin
sister
Blossom. I didn't even know who that was until CBS.
saw them
Dude,
twice. They're
I
amazing.
didn't,
They're
and my
fucking.
bad. I'm sorry because I'm getting excited out here. My bad.
No, no, no. So one of my favorite songs by them, "Till I Hear
Till
It From
I
You" from the Empire
hear it
Records soundtrack.
from you. Yeah, that and
So I had no idea they co-wrote that with fuck, I don't
Tom
remember
wait
his name. I
Doc
don't remember his
Doc
name.
Hopkins. He was the guitarist that he committed
No, no,
suicide.
no. They wrote it with another guy. Shit.
I sh-
Oh, he's like a Buddy Holly type guy too, and I'm like,
what's with the
fucking.
dude? He's dissing my girl. Yeah.
Oh my, no, no, not Weezer, but actual Buddy
I
Holly.
got you. I
Fuck,
got you. Hold on.
shit.
What's the name of the song again you were talking about? Okay.
Until I hear it from you. They co-wrote it with
Till
this
I
guy.
hear it from you. Because I've heard these songs, but I never knew the people who sang until a little bit more recent. I was like, oh, they're the ones that sang that. And the thing is, I never knew who.
Oh, this is where having big sisters comes into play for me because all of my musical knowledge was informed by
Yeah,
big
same thing with me
sisters.
and my brother and my sister because they were more into like Spanish hip hop and there was some rock here and there because there was the radio, but I didn't find my own groove until like junior high school going to high school. I discovered because Z100, the power of Z100, WPLJ, W.
I love that you just referred to it as the power of Z100
Yes,
because
that's when
that is such an
music.
old school back
Yeah,
in the
that's
day
when
radio
music
thing.
when they were playing good music. Third Eye Blind, Eagle Eye Cherry,
No,
and
but
K Rock.
that was the
Yeah,
power of
K
radio.
Rock.
That was when I got into radio. I wanted to get into radio because, and that's what I'm trying to do with that show. Is I want to sound like so. When I would make little mix CDs, and I've been making mix CDs since I was
Right.
13. When I got into radio, I went to broadcasting school. $14,000 later, and it went nowhere. So I the first time I was still in radio, I made a mix with my friend Bree. And I don't make mixes like I don't just put songs on a CD. It's all one track because the thing that unless you're a radio nerd is when a song fades and another song kind of
Yeah.
clips into the fade, it's an art
Yeah.
form. And if a song just stops, that's when radio stations put in a sweeper. That's what it's called. It's the imaging. It's called a sweeper. I used to do that for friends
Wow.
for birthdays and shit. So my friend Bree she worked in Mike FM. I made her birthday CD, but it was on one track. It was like
Birthday
an hour and a half.
CDs, bro. Like I.
But I made it for her to sound like so. It was called Bree FM, and I actually had female friends do voiceovers, and I would distort. I would make it sound like an act like a Z100. And Bree came and she's like, "Holy shit, dude! You gave me a radio station." I said, "Well, because I used to give mix CDs out. I didn't get a lot of mix CDs back. So when I did, I love them. I appreciate them. But at the same time, I would make mix CDs for people in a way that it was tailor made based off of conversations, based off of pop culture shit they like. So like with Bree, for instance, like we would talk about the movie Basketball a lot.
Base. Okay.
So I put in I put in the song by Real Big Fish, Beer.
Mm.
But I include a bunch of clips from the movie with all the imaging and the bells and whistles and stuff. And she loved Third Eye Blind, so I put on a lot of like deep cut Third Eye Blind shit because I wanted her to feel like I'm one of those people like nobody get like you as you realize like when you have kids and a wife and stuff nobody gives a shit about your
Oh
birthday.
yeah,
Like
100%.
you turn 21, 30, whatever, people stop caring. So when I make things for people, whether it's a birthday or Christmas gift or whatever, I make things so when they play it, it sounds like, oh my God, this is just for me. Like if I put 12 arbitrary songs on a CD, that could be for anyone. If I put 12 or 16 tracks on one track, but there's imaging and there's me DJing and shit, they know it's for them.
Bro,
If that makes
bro,
any
that's
sense.
freaking amazing, bro. Oh, dude,
So
mixtapes.
if it's like it's the equivalent of like writing a it's like the equivalent of writing a love letter or something. So like I did the last couple of shows I did, like last night I did one what was Saturday Night 80s because when I was in high school, my sister Heather and she'd ask me, she'd be like, you want to come sleep over? I'm like, okay, cool. And she'd be like, we're gonna get steaks and we're gonna listen to 80s music and we're gonna do Irish car bombs and whatever. I'm like, okay. And mind you, I'm a minor, but whatever. Like I'm hanging out with my sister. We would listen to 80s Saturday night on I can't remember the city, but it was a station in Worcester and the station in Boston that did it. When I tried to do these mixtapes, like I did a soft rock one that nobody listened to, but like when I went to broadcasting school, it was because of this guy David Allen Boucher, who did Bedtime Magic, and it was always like soft rock type shit.
Ooh.
I actually met the kid. He was an intern at my station. His dad worked for David Allen Boucher, did his all his imaging and shit. I told the kid, I'm like, holy fuck, your dad did that? That's legendary.
That's freaking amazing.
Because, well, because radio to me was,
That was home away from
again,
home, man. Like that got me, bro.
yes,
That's
it
the thing
was.
you
It
never
became,
understand, man. Like the dude. If you go on, oh my god, I found like the old K Rock commercials they used to do on the radio, and I'm just like,
yes,
bro, K
yes.
Rock, WPLJ, and Z would.
But you're probably talking K Rock in New York. K Rock to me was KROQ in Los Angeles, but there was also K
Yeah,
Rock
it was
in New
on
York.
92.3. That was like they used to
Um,
play Drowning Pool and Foo
yes,
Fighters and Soundgarden. It's through them
yes.
I discovered Soundgarden. Dude, K Rock was the place that I heard of the band called Travis and Radiohead.
Oh, I love
Yeah, all
Travis.
those
I love
bands, bro.
Love will come
Yes.
through. Love will come
Yes.
through.
And
What the hell is a Wonderwall anyway?
yeah,
There was
from
that song.
that's
I forget
from
what it was called.
wait, Wonderwall from Oasis?
No, there was a line in a Travis song. What the hell is a Wonderwall
Right.
anyway? I forget the name
Oh
of the
my
song
god.
though. Travis
Yeah,
was a great fucking
underrated.
band. I found
Yes.
them through
I
Garden
remember they
State.
used to do
Uh,
remember on K Rock they used to do like they would do like on Saturdays they would do like they would have the band at the station.
Nick fucking Carter. Nick Carter. Nick Carter. He was the black Nick Carter. He started at FNX and then BCN in
Yeah.
Boston. He wound up at K Rock when I was at AAF. He was in New York. I used to message him all the
Bro.
time. Wicked fucking cool dude. When Michael Jackson died, him and I had like a moment and he just lost his mom. And him and I were just both, and even when Prince died, he was sending me fucking Prince demos that he had, like bootleg Prince demos. Nick Carter, he used to work K Rock, but he was a BCN and a WFNX DJ. One of the nicest motherfuckers on the
Are you
planet.
talking
Like when
about the
I
guy
was
from the
trying to,
Backstreet Boys or just a okay.
no, Nick Carter,
Okay.
the DJ, Nick Carter. He always used to joke, I'm the black Nick Carter. I'm not the Backstreet
Okay.
Boy.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he was a DJ at K Rock in New York, but he was a sweetheart. Like he was so fucking nice to me. I would message that motherfucker on Facebook all hours of the day, and he would just fucking hold
Bro, you
court
would
with
get
me.
yeah,
And if
yeah,
we
you
weren't
would. Yeah, that
talking,
would be great.
if I could find him, I when I got rid of my Facebook, I lost touch with a lot of
Yeah.
these people. But like Nick Carter, Nick Carter, he was the best. He was my favorite DJ, and I keep in touch. It was funny. So after my book came out, I used to intern at FNX. I worked for this guy, Jim Murray,
Okay.
Big Jim Murray. Big Jim was his name in FNX. And I was friends with him on Facebook. He went to Melrose High. He knew a lot of the same people my sisters knew. But we got close, and he said, Eddie, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, what? He said, get out of here. Like, you're a better writer. Dude, I read all your Facebook shit. Get the fuck out of here. You're a better writer. Find something with writing. Radio is nothing. Like, get the fuck out of here. It's funny because he's still in radio, but so in the dedication of my book, I thanked him for telling me that. And my buddy Mike Welch, he goes, "Fucking, I read your book and you have a dedication to Big Jim. He's on 98.5 The Sports." So my buddy Mike called every day to get through to Big Jim, and he couldn't get through to him. And he just wanted to tell him, "Jim, Eddie fucking thanked you in his book. God damn it, acknowledge him." No fucking lie. I'm with my kids. So Big Jim and I are both from Melrose. I'm at a gas station in Melrose, right? And I see this lanky ass Italian guy, bald headed Italian guy, and he used to wear Sky He wasn't wearing a hat. And I go, and my boys go, Daddy, you look like you've seen a ghost. I go, that's fucking Big Jim. And they're like, no fucking way, Daddy. Is it? I go, yeah, hold on. And I bolt into the mobile gas station. I go, Jim? And he looks at me and goes, Eddie, holy shit, dude. I'm like, you remember me? He's like, of course I remember you. I'm like, holy fuck, Jim. He goes, are those your kids? I go, yeah, those are my boys. He goes, holy shit, man, you made it. Like, how you doing? I'm like, well, not great. I'm divorced. He goes, oh, dude, I'm so sorry. I go, I've been meaning to talk to you, dude. Like, I just published a book. He goes, no shit. You did it? I go, yeah, I did it. He goes, holy fucking shit. Can I find it? I go, yeah, it's on Amazon. I go, to be honest with you, my buddy Mike has been calling your station because he wanted you to know I made a dedication to you in the back of the book and thanked you for telling me to keep writing and get the fuck out of radio. And he started laughing and he just looks at my kids and my kids are looking at him. He fist bumps them and he just looks at me and he's like, God damn, Eddie. God fucking damn, you did it. And it was like the coolest moment because he was my hero. I remember I emailed him and I graduated from CSB in 2006. And then I freaked out because it was like a 3 month program. I freaked the fuck out. Like, that's my whole life. So I waited a year. And then I was listening to him on the radio. And the thing with Jim was he's the sweetest, like most humble, sweetest, nice guy. But on the radio, he was a dick. And I loved
Was it
it.
because he just wanted, like, was it just trying to separate him the guy and him the
No, he was just, that was, so the two kinds of humor I love, lowbrow and gallows. I love lowbrow and I love dark humor. And so he got calls because he made a Nicole Brown
Oh
joke on
wow.
his show. And they were calling the station and his catchphrase was F you the people. He didn't give a fuck. And I remember like it backfired on me because I tried to be like him. I'm like, dude, you're not him. Like you're too empathetic when you try to be the bad guy. You're the bad. It'd be like if Cody Rhodes was the bad guy. Now that was me. I was like, when I tried to be the bad guy, I was actually the bad
I
guy.
don't know if Sam. I don't know if I could be a bad guy. I can't. I don't know. Like I would try to think. I try to be like CM Punk, but I really can't. Like, because he's just like he just doesn't care. Like I mean, I'm the kind of person. Yeah, like I'm not afraid to speak my mind, but I'm like, okay, like how do I say this in a way that doesn't offend nobody? He's more like, okay, I don't care if you get offended. Like
Well, that's what's funny about that is my buddy Jason and I, he calls me CM Punk because he's like,
I
you're
could
CM
see.
Punk
Let's
is
just. I could definitely see that in a good way.
because I can speak my mind, but at the same time, like I'm very like I'm mad about Punk in WWE. He's exponentially a better wrestler in WWE, but in AEW, I love when he had the trans shirts and he had the gay pride shirts and stuff. And I know they won't let him do that in WWE because of the Trump affiliation, but like I remember like my buddy Jason was like, dude, you're Punk. I'm like, really? He's like, oh, dude, 1000%. Like you don't give a fuck. The problem is I
Like
do,
I don't mean
but I could be a Punk. I
see,
could not
like
be
the
a Big
thing is,
Jim.
I don't think we mean to, like, okay, because I know depending on the situation, I can't be like that. Depending on the situation, of course, but I don't think we mean to not give a fuck. I think it's more like we just speaking as much as we can, but if it comes off that way, I'm sorry, I don't mean to not give a fuck or come off that way, but that's just how I talk.
I think for me, and maybe even for you, I think that's where I rub people the wrong way because it's not that I'm trying to be offensive. It's just that I can't, at the end of the day, I'm just me. And for the longest time, I was so ashamed of being who I was. And when you have kids and you have a family, you're just kind of
Well,
like, fuck it.
I got tired. I'm tired of people
When
telling
it,
me what to do. That's the problem, right? Because all my whole life, oh, you got to talk this way and act this way. And I'm the kind of person, and I said this to my wife, and my wife
mm-hmm.
understands me 100%. The thing with me is that my mind does not understand. Like, what probably would offend a normal person doesn't offend me. Like, I'll give you yeah, it
Process,
just
it doesn't
doesn't. And
process
people
that
get
way.
mad at me about that. Even like my own siblings get mad at me about that. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Like, I get where you're coming from,
Oh,
but I don't
dude.
really understand why you're mad.
Dude, I grew up with two big sisters. So, like, as the only boy in the family, my well, actually both my sisters get it. My big sister is funny because she's like my John Cena. We butt fucking heads, but when it's
It does,
working,
yeah.
it's a clinic. It's a fucking clinic. But like My other sister, she's more like a fucking, oh God, who do I find to explain it? She's like a Daniel Bryan. Like it makes sense. Like we can do clinics with each other, but at the same time, like Daniel Bryan's why CM Punk got ousted from AEW. So like Heather's like, I like him until I have no use for him, and then he's out. Whereas my other sister is like a Cena, like, no, we need him. Like he's an integral part of whatever the fuck we're doing. That's why I always compare my sister and I to like Guns N' Roses. Like Jen's Axel, I'm Slash, Heather's Duff, and it's just like I on Instagram some nights I get a little sentimental, and I'll get a little sad after Jen and I talk, and like my sister and Heather and I don't talk. But I always try to make a point that, and it's funny, even now, sometimes I'm doing this. I have two sisters. Jen may be my closest, but I
Yeah,
have
I
two
have one
sisters,
brother. Yeah, like, I
if
have
that
one
makes
brother,
sense.
one sister. So there's certain things that me and my brother are not gonna see eye to eye on, and there are things we do see eye to eye on. Then with my sister, it's the same thing. But I feel like when it comes to laid backness, I feel like I can be more laid back with her than I do with my brother. You get what I'm saying? I do.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
sibling
and the
dynamics,
thing is,
yeah.
I'm the youngest of three. My sister had what this is what my sister calls middle child syndrome, and my brother's the oldest, so it's like he has like more of the bigger responsibility. My sister's the middle child, and then I'm the youngest. But I
Yep.
feel like I've
Yep.
inherited everybody's BS, right? Because there was my brother,
Yep.
my sister, my father, my mother. So I was more around my mother and sister than I was around my brother because he wasn't really around like that. Because he was the oldest and he had his own life. And then I wasn't really around my dad like that. Like even though I always lived with my parents and it was always me and my parents, but as far as like being present, like it was never like that with me and my dad. It was more like
All right, but answer me this then. As a sibling, especially you're in my position, the younger sibling, you grow up, kids don't grow up. If you're a sibling, even in your 40s, you all act like you
oh,
did when you were little
100%.
kids.
100%.
Yeah, you don't grow out of being a sibling. Like my sister, my oldest is 45, my sister is 43, I'm 37. We still squabble, we still argue, we still talk. I swear to fucking God, every time I talk to my sister, and she had a lot of health issues, and like people kind of gave me grief about that. They're like, Eddie, why are you so doom and gloom about your sister? It's like, you don't understand something. When I was a kid, I hated her. I fucking hated her.
She's and
She gave me great
she's
music,
the
great
oldest,
movies.
or
Yeah, my sister Jen, she was the big
oh, so
sister.
you
She is the
hated
big
her.
sister.
I didn't
I
hate my
hated
brother.
her.
I resented my brother for a long time.
Oh, I hated my. Well, maybe
I resented
but
the
the thing was, it
shit out of
wasn't that I
him.
actually resent her. Yes, because you were the little runt. You were the little sibling. But also, I'm sure maybe, I don't know, speaking on my behalf, my sister had to take care of me.
Mm.
And I feel like she kind of resented me for that, not meaning to. But when my parents weren't around, Jen always had to show up. Like when Heather pieced out, Jen had to show
No,
up.
see, yeah, for me,
So
it
it was
wasn't
like
really
Jen,
like that. Kind of, but not really. I know what you're saying, though. But yeah, like, yeah, I know what you mean, though.
yeah.
That's shit.
But siblings are gonna be siblings, and I try to tell that to my kids all the time because you have the one, I have the two. Is my kids fight all the time to the point where like I have to like address it to the school, like, hey, Ryder's got this bruise, Dylan's got this. They just beat the crap out of you. Like that's how I lost my car. Was they were fighting in the back seat, and as the divorced single dad, I don't want you guys to look like bruised turds when you go to
No,
school.
I
Like holy
get that.
shit,
Yeah,
like stop fighting.
I don't know how Florence does it, man, because Florence is a freaking phenomenal mom, man, and like, and she's dealing with two kids. Yeah, she has Dalton and everything, but like, as far as a mom, that's her children. Like, she's so good at that, and she's so good at disciplining her kids. But I'm just like, yo, how do you do it, man? Like how do you do that, bro? Like, even my
Dude,
wife, like,
I'm
I don't
a
even know how she puts up with me. Like, she should throw my ass out the window already.
yeah,
Even my
it's
wife,
funny.
you have a lot of stuff with my son, but like, how do you put up with me? Like, you should have thrown me out the window a long time ago.
Well, the thing with Florence that like humbles me. Not only does she have two kids, right, and she's Dalton, but then she also curates all this poetry shit
That's,
and runs a
bruh,
press and shit
that's
like that. And I'm like,
inspiration, man. I don't care what anybody fucking
dude,
says, man.
no, Florence, I constantly, and we don't
I
talk
haven't
much.
spoke, yeah, I
I'm
haven't spoken to
bummed
her in so
because,
long. It's not on purpose, obviously. Like, life happens, of course. As even with you and me, like, we just reconnected recently, but that's
oh
because
yeah,
life just happened for me. Like,
Well, that was the big thing I wanted to tell you. That was the big thing I wanted to tell you was because I feel like sometimes you get a little like, oh, dude, I'm so sorry. And it's like, dude, life fucking
No, and
happens,
thank
man.
you.
Like, especially in your case, well, because with your son being special needs and your wife and you and all that shit, it's like, dude,
No, but
I,
you gotta understand, you know
one
why
of
I
the things,
apologize, Eddie. My bad. I don't mean to cut you off. The reason why I apologize because in the past, like even when I was younger, people used to get mad and thought I was ghosting them, like to the point that they stopped being my friends because they thought I was purposely or I was like, no, let's have
whoa,
peace.
because you're bringing that up though, I gotta say this, I've been ghosted by every friend I've ever had, really, like the close friends. That as I get older, like Florence, I would never say this, I would never say to you, or I would never say to Sage. The maturity kicks in. You go like, well, the people that want to be around will be
Yeah, when
around.
the dust
And
settles,
then when you
when the
talk to them,
dust
it's like
settles, you know who your friends are.
if it's 6 months, 6 years, you just pick up where
Yeah,
you left
that's how.
off.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Whereas the friends that I thought I truly had that disappeared, they're still MIA. They're still a hate wall. And it's like, you know what? Fuck it. It's fine. It's fine. Like I don't. And maybe I don't even know. Like I lost track. I'm like I don't even know how fucking long we've been talking right now. I'm like shit.
It's
How long
been
is this?
dude, let's
Oh
just
my
say
god!
we haven't.
I
No,
didn't even
I
mean to become
no,
the.
I
I
love
joked with
that.
you
No,
before you
I
hit
like
record.
that.
I became David Lee Roth without knowing. But no, truthfully, like my big thing in life is like I don't get shitty and pissed at people for not being around because the people that always want to be around when they do come back around, like, ah, oh, dude, I'm so sorry. And it's like, dude, don't apologize.
No, and
Life
thank
fucking
you for
happens.
that.
You got your
Thank
shit.
you
I
for
got
that.
my
Like
shit.
I said, like thank you so much for that because again, this is me apologize more of a traumatic response than anything else for me
No,
because again,
no,
I have been ridiculed for that.
no.
I have been
That's not. But
no,
that's
I
not
know
fucking
that's not
fair, Andy.
fair. No,
Because
you're right. It's
honestly,
not fair, but this is what I've been through, bro. Like I've been through this.
and that's you know what, as a sister who, and again, I don't want to. It's not my business to bring up your son, but like my sister has a nonverbal autistic son, right? And she's been through hell, and sometimes the only time we can talk, and she calls me every night faithfully, and she's good about that. But like we'll talk 11 o'clock at night, and I can hear him in the background, like, yeah, maybe you should go deal with that. Oh no, 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 it's fine. For anyone to say like, hey, you're not being a good enough friend. Who really? Like, what the fuck are
Yeah.
you doing? You know
No,
what I mean? Like,
100%, man.
really? Like, are you? Do you not have a fucking pulse in your fucking body? Like, my son's autistic, and my wife's going through some shit. I'm going through some shit. We're all going. Again, if anything can come out of this conversation that anybody can digest or hear is like, don't do that. Don't be that guy. Like, if your friend disappears, and I had friends that I would text and be like, hey, where are you at? To do the wellness checks, and be like, well, you were here, and then you're not. And they get pissed at me, like, stop calling me. It's like, dude, if you don't want to be friends, tell me you don't want to be friends. And then I have people like you that call me out of the fucking
Yeah.
blue. And I'm just like, oh, hey, man, what's up? And you're just like, oh, you're not mad at me? It's like, why would you fucking be
Bro.
mad at you? I'm
No,
just happy
I
to hear your
get
voice.
that, man. Here's my thing, right? Because I have such a problem with like isolation a lot, and again, and this is where the trauma happens. Because my dad growing up, and this is why I say he wasn't always present. All he ever did, if he had nothing going on, he would lock himself in his room, and I kind of catch myself doing that now a lot, and that's not good because I could be home, my wife and son, like I'll spend a little bit of time with them, blah blah blah, maybe like in a good hour, 2 hours, okay, then I'm back to locking myself in my office or lock myself in my room and just isolate the shit out of myself, and I catch myself doing that constantly, and I gotta break out of that because that's not good, dude. I don't
But
know.
it takes time. Don't be hard on you. It takes
Dude, but
time
this
to
is
do that. Like, it
years,
takes
bro.
a
I've been
lot
doing
of
it for
time.
years. I didn't know I was doing it for years until like I just was very reflective recently. I was like, shit, because dude, that fucks with your mind sometimes, man. Like, yeah, that the fall.
Oh no, as someone who can be kind of a hermit, it totally does. It
It's like
totally does.
shit, man. You know, and
Just
I
give
don't want
it,
my son to feel like he can't
yeah.
talk to me because I couldn't talk to my dad for nothing. Like, the only time I got anything with my dad was when I got married. That was the only time I got that whole we had a conversation. He was just saying, I'm proud of you, kind of thing, and all this other stuff. And then, of course, he had to throw a joke in there like, it's cheap to get married, but it's expensive to get a divorce. So you better choose. I hope you chose wisely. And then my mom looked at him like, huh, okay. Like, really? You going to say that to him?
But it's not shitty advice because I am the fucking guinea pig for that. Because believe me, true words are never spoken. It is so much harder and more expensive to get divorced than it
100%.
is to
That's
get
why I'm
married.
like, I value that. I say, you know what? Hey,
Yeah.
that's great because you know what? If that's all there was, great. Like, I'm okay with that. But man, it's hard. It's like life is not easy, man, and that's okay. So for anyone that's feels how I feel, who feels like Eddie feels, dude, it's okay. Like if we knew each other, I'd rather have 50,000 Eddie Brophies running around than to have freaking like a bunch of Elon Musk running around. Like, I don't know if that's a good example, but.
On that note, I think that's a good note to end the show on 'cause I feel like I've talked your
No,
poor ear
dude,
off
like, no, but
forever.
this is what
But
I want for the podcast. Like, I want just constant, like, just yeah, we're friends here. This is me sharing this with my friends, and you are considered one of my friends, and I like this. Like, I have a couple of episodes with my friend Stephanie Lamb already that I'm gonna be releasing soon. So it's all good, bro. Like, this is what I want, man. I'm not doing what I did at Unraveled Influence. It was just one time, okay, and then maybe next season we'll invite you. No, this is like ongoing, bro. Like, it's thoughts and conversations and us having a good time. That's what I want, bro.
well, I appreciate it, buddy. And I just wanted to say, like, I think this is probably a good note to end on. But I appreciate it, buddy, because we could probably talk for like 9 more episodes. I'm sure we
Bro,
probably will. Dude, I had so much fun
no
talking with you.
doubt. Any
Thank you so
last
much
words,
for
bro? Like,
all of it.
I really appreciate you, my friend. So, any last words before we part ways?
Be kind. Be decent to each other. It costs nothing to be nice. It honestly, and if you have a friend that you're truly worried about and they're not getting, don't settle for being ghosted. Kick down the door. If they're a real friend, then they probably expect you to kick down the door and check on them. And if not, just trust that people have life and lives and kids and families. And honestly, like if you're truly worried, check in on the ones that you care about. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I lost a lot of
Yeah,
friends to
same here.
suicide and shit like that and drug addiction. And honestly, like I've been one of those guys. So even though I told a bunch of people I've been talking to you, and I'm like, oh, it'll probably be like an hour. So I got friends calling me. He's like, where is he? What's he doing? And
Yes.
it's fine. I'm laughing because I'm just like, it's as you said, you're very humble and you're very grateful with this stuff. I'm very privileged that you want to talk to me. Just checking on, not to be corny, but checking on your homies. Just make sure everybody's cool. But don't be so quick with anger because people got to process shit their own way. You know what I mean? Like, and it does take a fucking village, and everybody's village is different. But at the same time, if you truly love someone and you care about them, give them grace, give them that space to just fucking figure out what they're going through, whether it's substance abuse, depression, just life. Just give them time to figure it out, and just. But I'm a big advocate for, like, you mentioned Florence. You know, I always send Florence poems and stuff, and it's not to annoy them. It's not to like be like, hey, what the fuck? It's always to just remind them, like, you're still in my circle. You're still in this part of me that's so important. It's still my village. Just check in on everybody, make sure everybody's okay, especially in these times. And I made a point not to get political about the administration, all that shit, because you even said you're like, I have no dog in that race, and I get that. But just family and friends and people that you love, just check in on them. Just make sure everybody's cool. And if they're not, just be there. I'm one of those people. I'm the worst offender of, like, I call people and people ask me how I'm doing, and I'll probably go on a diatribe for hours, and I feel so bad. I feel like I'm not expecting you to tell me how to make it better. I'm glad that you listened, and as long as you pay that back, as long as you do that for if you're gonna be somebody that's gonna rant forever, and someone's gonna listen to you, just do the same back. And really, I think in my mind, it's not that complicated. If you love someone and you care about someone, or you love people and you care about people, just listen. Because sometimes it's gonna be your time to bitch and moan and say like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? Same time, they need their time to say like, Eddie, I don't, or I don't know what to do, man. Andy, I'm so fucked right now. Sometimes they're not looking for answers; they're just looking for someone to listen. And just be
Hey
there.
man. And I guess yeah, we'll just leave it at that. And bro, thank as always, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, man. I can't wait to do more of these with you. And
Oh,
yeah, man.
privilege is all mine,
So I'll
bud.
talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of your night. And if you made it this far in the episodes, depends on how this is chopped up. Thank you for listening.